Chapter 2710. According to the Ancestral Dragon clan's difficulty level, under normal circumstances, it was 512 times higher. Who could succeed? Judging from the current situation, the Ancestral Dragon clan possessed extraordinary power. It was as if the entire universe was under their control. Then how were they to determine the difficulty of the trial? If the trial was based on Yi Zichen's full strength, then 512 times was equivalent to 512 groups of the same people. Yi Zichen and the others had to defeat them all and survive. This was simply a fantasy, okay? In truth, Yi Zichen could endure any situation and overcome it himself. He really couldn't handle the current situation any longer. He needed to find Wen Li and confirm whether or not the Ancestral Dragon clan had broken the rules. Yeezy, it's connected. The robot prince, Bei Li, patted Yi Zichen's shoulder. A holographic projection appeared in front of them, showing the floating palace of the head of the Virtual World Corporation, Wen Li. From the looks of it, she was about to take a bath. She wore a simple white muslin robe, and her hair was still dripping with water. The nine-faced overlord stood guard by her side. There was no one else. Big Sister Wen Li. After confirming that the person in the image was Wen Li, Yi Zichen greeted the projection. Leader Wen Li, Meng Luo, Hua Jinro, the Flame Rat, Baiyu, and the other juniors of Planet Een all greeted Wen Li. Their families all had close ties with the Virtual World Corporation. Wen Li had visited their clans and met them several times. Winnie and Aylin lowered their heads even more. You're all here. Wen Li walked over to a rattan chair and sat down. In that instant, a white furry robe appeared on her body, and her entire body exuded a holy aura. I'm very happy to see you all get to know Lord Yi. These words were clearly directed at Meng Luo and the others. Yi Zichen tactfully didn't interfere and simply waited silently. Yes, no one could remain absolutely calm in front of Wen Li. Even if it was Meng Luo and the others, they still felt fear and reverence towards Wen Li. No matter how naughty and mischievous they were in their clans, they were all obedient juniors before Wen Li. As for anything else, they didn't dare say anything. Cooperate well with the Milky Way in the future. The future of the universe will still be in the hands of you, the younger generation. Wen Li, who was sitting on a rattan chair, whispered. Yi Zichen, who stood silently to the side, could sense it from her words. Compared to when she was talking to Meng Luo and the others, her tone and demeanor were all very different. It was as if Wen Li was more like an elder in front of them. Even a nine-faced hegemon. Yi Zichen still remembered when they'd first met. Back then, the nine-faced hegemon had been as lively as a child who hadn't grown up. But in the projection, her face was taut and solemn. We will. Meng Luo and the others nodded. Baiyu, this junior is here. Hearing Wen Li call out his name, Baiyu stepped forward. I've heard about the news of your father breaking through to become an utmost being. Wen Li said in a low voice. There are only a few supreme beings in our universe. It's overkill to let him guard the outer realms. Baiyu silently lowered his head and didn't reply. This was his father's decision, and she had no right to interfere. Furthermore, from Wen Li's tone, it seemed she didn't want the fire god to go to the outside. I heard you're about to get engaged to Lord Yi. Yes, that's a good thing. Wen Li nodded. When you return, you can come to the Virtual World Corporation. Lord Yi is like half a little brother to me. As his older sister, I should give you a congratulatory gift. Senior, actually, Yi Zichen and I. Don't say actually, but you must get engaged. Yi Zichen instantly frowned when he heard Wen Li's words. Why? Why was Wen Li giving him such an answer? Baiyu and Yi Zichen instinctively glanced at each other. The Milky Way Lord and the Fire God's only daughter, you're both people of status. The Milky Way and Planet Yin's by clan are both well-known factions and clans throughout the universe. Since you've spoken about what happened that day, you must carry it out. Otherwise, it won't benefit either of you, said Wen Li. Yi Zichen didn't know why, but he felt like Wen Li's words were directed at him. It was like some sort of reminder. However, this reminder was similar to what she'd said to the Ancestral Dragon clan last time. Yi Zichen couldn't make heads or tails of it. All right, you can all leave now. I have some things I need to discuss with Lord Yi alone. Understood. Meng Luo and the others left the room. That fox girl, you stay behind as well. Just as they were about to leave, Wenli suddenly called out to Su Lu'er, who was about to leave with them. Su Lu'er stopped and walked to Yi Zichen's side. You're a nine-tailed fox. Yes. Su Lu'er nodded. How many tails? 9 tail, as I thought. Su Lu'er didn't seem surprised at all. Does your nine-tailed fox bloodline specialize in illusions? My second sister specializes in illusions. When you return from the ancestral dragon clan, tell her to come to the Virtual World Corporation. All right, you can leave as well. With just a few simple sentences, Wenli stopped questioning Su Lu'er. Su Lu'er's expression was the same as ever as she left the room. As for Wenli's words, she didn't know what they meant. Besides, they didn't know when they'd return from the ancestral dragon clan. The universe might already be in chaos by the time they returned. When that happened, they could decide whether or not to go to the Virtual World Corporation. Big Sister Wenli, just now you don't need to know. Wenli interrupted Yi Zichen. Say it. Why did you contact me? I'll get angry if it's something unimportant. Yi Zichen grinned. When the nine-faced overlord saw his silly grin, he couldn't hold it in and laughed as well. Big Sister Wenli, I've run into trouble. If you run into trouble, solve it yourself. You're a Milky Way Lord right now. In the future, you'll have to face the entire universe. If you can't even handle a little trouble, then what's the point of being a Milky Way Lord? How will you inherit the mantle of the Milky Way Lord? Asked Wenli, I know. If it was just a small problem, Yi Zichen could handle it. Did you come for the Ancestral Dragon Clan? Asked Wenli. Yes. Big Sister Wenli, do you know? I can't tell you too much about the Ancestral Dragon Clan. It won't do you any good, said Wenli. Big Sister, I'm not asking you about breaking the rules. I just came out. I just feel like the Ancestral Dragon Clan is messing with me. Yi Zichen glared at her. They're trying to kill me on purpose. Chapter 27:11. He had to complain. If he didn't complain now, he didn't know how the Ancestral Dragon race would bully him. Yi Zichen had to figure it out. How did this difficulty factor come about? They had to recalculate. Moreover, if Wenli were to inquire about it, it would also serve as a deterrent to them. They had to give face to the head of the Virtual World Corporation. I want you to die. Wenli's eyes sparkled with a smile as she looked at him with great interest. How should I kill you? Sister, I'm telling you. I suspect that the ancestral dragon race is related to the Archean Moon Galaxy. Yi Zichen frowned. The ancestral dragon clan might be from the Tsanyue Galaxy. In order to make Wenli pay attention to this matter, Yi Zichen also started to lie. In fact, what he said was not groundless. Just the things that the ancestral dragon clan was doing now seemed to be related to the Azure Moon Galaxy, no matter how one looked at it. Tell me why? Wenli whispered. What was going on? How could he be so calm? Yi Zichen did not see any change in Wenli's emotions from the projection. It was as if the connection between the ancestral dragon clan and the Tsanyue Galaxy was insignificant to her. Yi Zichen quickly nodded to himself. That's right. In any case, Wenli was the head of the Virtual World Corporation, one of the few people at the pinnacle of humanity in the universe. These people had long been used to remaining calm, even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of them. Even if something huge happened, even if the universe was destroyed, they might still be able to remain as calm as they were now. More importantly, that was all Yi Zichen said. He did not say the details, so Wenli needed to wait for Yi Zichen's explanation before she could make a judgment. Sister, you know that the Milky Way has formed an alliance with the Sacred Realm, right? I know. Wenli nodded lightly. You have the nerve to mention this to me. Did you ever discuss with me about directly declaring war? Yi Zichen scratched his head with a coy smile when he heard Wenli's question. This is indeed my problem. Meng Luo and the others have already told me about it. I've never formed an alliance before, so I didn't know it would have such a big impact. Okay, remember to tell me next time. Wenli's reply was very casual, which caused Yi Zichen to be stunned for a moment. That's it. Sis, you don't blame me anymore. What else can I say about you? Wenli seemed to smile bitterly. What has happened has happened. Even if I blame you, what can I do? Just remember this next time. Besides, this small-scale declaration of war has no impact on the Virtual World Corporation. That Sangyu, a galaxy, won't dare to make a move. As expected of my sister, Yi Zichen flattered silently, while Wen Li's expression did not change. Speak. All right. Yi Zichen grinned, then his expression darkened. Sis, you should know. This time, my declaration of war is to clear the name of my Milky Way galaxy. Continue. I've been quiet in the Milky Way galaxy for 10 years, and I'm counting on this one stop to show my power and status. Let the entire universe witness the strength of our Milky Way, and also prevent those rascals from having any ill intentions towards our Milky Way. And this time, our Milky Way galaxy has also sent out countless elites, waiting to assist the sacred universe countries in reclaiming their homeland. We can prove our strength in the Milky Way galaxy and also gain the sacred universe country as an ally. This is definitely beneficial to our Milky Way galaxy. That's right, but the Ancestral Dragon Clan came to cause trouble. Yi Zichen knitted his eyebrows. Did you know that the Ancestral Dragon Clan turned the sacred universe country into a trial mission? What's more, I became the person to accept this trial. I know. Sis, don't you think this is very strange? Isn't this something the Ancestral Dragon Clan did on purpose? That's right. Even Yi Zichen did not expect Wen Li to give such a definite answer without even thinking about it. If that's why you came to find me, then there's no need to continue. You accepted the Ancestral Dragon Clan's trial mission as a trial taker, and the trial location is the Sacred Universe country. I know all of this. What's more, I've already asked. Actually, I can tell you directly that this trial was recommended by Sangyu. It really was him. Yi Zichen had suspected from the very start that Sangyu was the mastermind behind this trial. Even now, Wen Li was certain. Sis, then I also contacted the Ancestral Dragon Clan and told them about this. In the end, I accepted the trial as well. I also contacted Sangyu and scolded him. Said Wen Li, that's it. Then what else do you want? Now that things have gotten to this point, do you think I can still attack the Ancestral Dragon Clan? Wen Li tilted her head. Little brother, you should know that the universe is very complicated. Of course I know that. Yi Zichen had never even considered sending Wen Li to attack the Ancestral Dragon Clan. That was simply unrealistic. But, even so, this was the final result. He still felt somewhat uncomfortable, but there was nothing he could do about it. Sis, then do I have to accept this mission? You can admit defeat, said Wen Li. I can tell you right now that the Ancestral Dragon Clan has many trials. This is just a trial to determine your rank. Once you reach the Ancestral Dragon Clan, you'll have many more trials waiting for you. Failure this time won't affect you much in the future. From Wen Li's words, Yi Zichen learned quite a bit of useful information. Right now, they were determining their rank. The trials along the way were a sort of test for them. Aren't you afraid that the Ancestral Dragon Clan? Your trial this time is their fault for letting down my Virtual World Corporation. So what if I tell you some information? Said Wen Li disdainfully. Would they dare to attack my Virtual World Corporation? That was rather domineering. Actually, that was how these peak powers were. They kept each other in check, hindered, and threatened each other. Who really wanted to touch them? The possibility was too low because they were all involved in too many things. However, he definitely couldn't lose this trial. If he admitted defeat, he would lose the reputation of the entire Milky Way galaxy. Sis, then do you think I have a chance of winning this trial? Naturally, Wen Li nodded. Since the Ancestral Dragon Clan issued this trial, it means that both sides have a chance of winning. They won't force anyone into a dead end. That would be unfair. If they really do that, I'll personally go to the Ancestral Dragon Clan and demand an explanation from them. You don't have to worry about that. Then you can go, Sis Wen Li. Yi Zichen shrugged when he heard Wen Li's reply. Go find the Ancestral Dragon Clan. What happened? Wen Li frowned. Yi Zichen let out a deep breath. Do you know what the difficulty of my trial this time is? How would I know? Even though I'm the head of the Virtual World Corporation, it doesn't mean that everything in this universe is under my control. Wen Li answered. You don't know, right? Then let me tell you. Yi Zichen snorted fiercely. My difficulty level is 512 times. Chapter 2712. When Yi Zichen finished speaking this time, he finally saw the shock in Wen Li's eyes. The nine-faced overlord's eyes widened in shock. How much? The nine-faced overlord couldn't help but exclaim. That's more like it. Did you see that? I'm not overthinking things, right? Even the nine-faced overlord and Wen Li were shocked by the difficulty rating. 512 times. Yi Zichen revealed an angry expression when he heard the nine-faced overlord's exclamation. Big Sister Nine-Face, you're the judge. Is this even humanly possible? Just now, I received a transmission from the Ancestral Dragon Clan telling me that the difficulty rating is 512 times. Is that even possible? That is a bit exaggerated. The nine-faced overlord muttered. How could it be that high? How many people did you bring? Wen Li frowned. Including me, there are only 8 people in total. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. But even I don't know where the other 2 came from. How strong are your guards? Dukes. In the picture, Wen Li frowned and said nothing. From the looks of it, she should know how to calculate the difficulty rating. Right now, she was trying to calculate how difficult it should be. Just wait. As soon as he finished speaking, the projection stopped. Within the Virtual World Corporation's Sky Palace. Big Sister, there's a huge problem with the difficulty rating, the nine-faced overlord frowned. The nine-faced overlord frowned. A difficulty factor of 512 times is unheard of. Even the previous Master of the Galaxy only had a difficulty factor of 256 times. There are some problems, double the difficulty, muttered Wen Li. It's this kid. He looks smart, but he still doesn't understand my warning. In the end, he still fell for Zhu Ying's trap. He brought 10 people and 2 dukes. The difficulty rating is naturally high. But that's only 256 times. That's why I have to ask the Ancestral Dragon Clan. Yi Zichen watched as the projection disappeared. Based on his estimations, Wen Li should have gone to contact the Ancestral Dragon Clan. It seems like there really is a problem with the Ancestral Dragon Clan, said Bailey. Otherwise, Leader Wen Li wouldn't have had such a big reaction. The little prince of the mechanical race, Bailey, said from his shoulder. That's right. If Wen Li were to appear personally, the Ancestral Dragon race would definitely give a reasonable answer. It was the right decision to look for Wen Li this time. Otherwise, with the difficulty coefficient of 512 times, he would definitely suffer a loss. He glanced at the time. There were still 15 minutes left. He hoped that Wen Li would be able to solve the problem within these 15 minutes and let the Ancestral Dragon tribe give him a normal difficulty rating. All Yi Zichen had to do now was wait. Waiting was the most torturous. Every minute, every second, was torture for Yi Zichen. He glanced at the countdown timer every 5 seconds. It was almost the last 5 minutes, but Wen Li still hadn't given him any answer. Don't be outdated. Just as Yi Zichen muttered to himself, Wen Li's virtual projection sent over an invitation. Sister Wen Li. In the image, Wen Li and the nine-faced overlord were still in the floating palace, sitting on the same rattan chair. I've just asked. There's no problem with your difficulty level. What? Yi Zichen was stunned. There was no problem. How is that possible? He suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Sister, you can only blame yourself for bringing too many people, Wen Li replied. The difficulty level is based on 1. You have 10 people in total, so the difficulty level has increased to 64 times. With 2 Duke-level guards, the difficulty level has increased by 4 times, so it has become 256 times. Duke-level double. F***CK. This Zhu Ying, she was really ruthless. I already reminded you. You didn't understand. This is your problem. Wen Li spoke up. Wen Li said, although Zhu Ying's actions were indeed intentional, the moment you entered the virtual network, your trial had already begun. It's just that you didn't realize it. Even if that's the case, why did it have to be 512 times? You hid the number of people in your team in the previous trial. I didn't. Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with anger. I have the number of people I should have. I never hid anyone. You did. You hid 2 people. I already asked very clearly, Wen Li replied. What's more, the person I asked was Justice. His words are trustworthy. All right, let's end it here. I don't think you can complete the trial this time. I'll say it again. You can choose to admit defeat. The projection ended. Yi Zichen stood silently in the room as Wen Li's words echoed in his mind. He trusted Wen Li. There weren't many people in the universe that Yi Zichen trusted, and Wen Li was one of them. Since she said that, it meant that she really went to ask, and the ancestral dragon clan gave her a corresponding answer. However, Yi Zichen truly felt wronged. He didn't hide anyone. All of the trial participants were in his battleship. What did he hide? He still hid 2 people. If the 2 of them were counted, then the 10 people the ancestral dragon clan gave were real. Where are they? According to Wen Li's answer, the 2 of them had already been following him when he went through the previous trial, which was before he got Meng Luo and company. In other words, they came from the Milky Way. Bailey, on our way here, did you sense anyone following us in secret? Yi Zichen frowned. No. Bailey shook his head. If someone was following us in secret, there's no way I wouldn't notice them within the warship's detection range, unless they're following us outside the radar range of our warships. What the hell? Yi Zichen rubbed his temples as he thought about the 2 of them. Wait a minute. Did you check our warship? Warship? Bailey was stunned. We don't. If they were outsiders, they wouldn't be able to hide in our warship. They don't have fingerprints or retina scans, so they can't get in. What if they're on our side? Yi Zichen let out a long sigh, then hurried out of the room. Meng Luo and company had been waiting outside the entire time. When they saw Yi Zichen, they wanted to ask him about the situation, but to their surprise, he went straight for the warship. He scanned the area with his universe divine sense. In less than a few seconds, Yi Zichen let out a heavy sigh, then entered the ship's hold and arrived at the lowest level. The place was filled with random items. He pushed them aside, then pulled open the alloy plate in the corner of the cabin. 2 pairs of pitch-black eyes stared straight at him. Yi Zichen revealed a helpless smile. You 2, I should have done something to you. Chapter 27:13. The aluminum alloy plate was pulled away. There was a small dark room under the alloy plate, which was about a few cubic meters in size. This dark room was originally used as an entrance and exit for repairing battleships. Yi Zichen squatted outside with a look of helplessness and looked down at the 2 cuties hiding inside. Bailey said it. Within the detection range of their battleship, it was impossible for anyone suspicious to be tailing them. Their battleships were equipped with very high-end equipment and could cover a range of several light years. If it was really following them outside the detection range, the possibility was too low. Just now, Wen Li had used a certain tone to tell Yi Zichen that he was hiding someone. So where else could it be hidden? It was his battleship. Along the way, no one would have thought that there were other people on the warship. Bailey said that outsiders couldn't enter at all. Fingerprints, retina, and many other identification restrictions made it impossible for anyone to enter. Then the ones with fingerprints and iris recognition. Weren't they the 2 little cuties? The 2 who hadn't appeared on Earth since Yi Zichen left. Lil Sis, Su Luer hurried over and stared at the 2 of them in shock. Big Sis Luer. Yi Zichen reached out his hand helplessly. Come out. Staying in a place like this for more than a year doesn't feel good, right? The people hiding here were none other than Su Yin and Xia Kiki. Su Yin and Xia Kiki, who were discovered, hung their heads. Meng Luo and the others were also stunned. There are others. Little sister, why are you here? Su Luer's expression was one of astonishment. Sister Luer, don't you know? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. I thought you helped them enter. How could that be? The ancestral dragon clan is such a dangerous place. How could I let my sister come here? Su Luer frowned. Little sister, why did you come here? Is it too late to go back now? Impossible. Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly. Su Yin and the others should also be considered trial takers, right? Su Yin, Kiki, you heard it too, right? I heard you. Xia Kiki licked her lips and nodded. Tell me about you guys. Yi Zichen raised his hand and caressed their cheeks. I didn't tell you guys to come, but you still insisted on coming. This isn't a good place. But since you're here, why don't you come out halfway? Why do you have to keep staying here? We were afraid that you would drive us back. Xia Kiki mumbled. Did we do something wrong? Su Yin also pursed her lips and lowered her head. not saying a word. When he saw their expressions, even though Yi Zichen was a bit angry, his anger instantly dissipated. It's nothing. All right, go up. This isn't a place for you guys to stay. Finally, the hidden personnel was confirmed. The doubts in his heart were finally dispelled. Yi Zichen and company sat in the cabin, while Su Yin and Xia Kiki silently lowered their heads. Whose idea? Mine. Xia Kiki pursed her lips. I discussed it with Su. We'll hide here before you guys leave. We were planning on glaring at you guys before coming out. I knew it. He patted Xia Kiki's head. Look at you, your body isn't that good. Why did you come here? It's fine. I'm in great shape right now, Xia Kiki replied seriously. I haven't had a relapse in the past year or so. My body is very strong. If you don't believe me, I can show you my muscles. Come on. Yi Zichen flicked Xia Kiki's head, then looked toward Su Yin. In the end, he could only shake his head helplessly. Never mind. Since we're already here, then let's participate together. Really? Xia Kiki's eyes were filled with joy. Su Yin also looked up with hope. Really? With that, Yi Zichen turned to Meng Luo and company. Perfect. Let me introduce you guys. These two are Su Yin and Xia Kiki, my first and second wives. They're also participating in the trial. The Ancestral Dragon Clan's transmission was correct. There are indeed 10 of us. They're included as well. Wives? The Flame Rat's eyes widened. Meng Luo and Hua Jinro were also shocked. Baiyu frowned but didn't say anything. Yeah, Susu and I both have Zichenji's babies. Xia Kiki puffed out her chest. When she saw that Yi Zichen had a woman beside him, and a young and beautiful one at that, Xia Kiki couldn't help but feel a sense of danger. She purposely said all this so that these people would back off in the face of difficulty. Babies, Meng Luo exclaimed. Great deity. Already have offspring? Yes. There was no need to hide these things. On the other hand, Baiyu's eyes seemed to dim when he heard the news. Wow, really? Meng Luo giggled. So great deity is already a father. We're still just little kids. Let's not talk about this anymore. Hua Jinro stood up with a dark expression. She could feel Baiyu's dispirited mood. Since we found them, then there's no problem with numbers. What did Head Wenli say? Why is our difficulty so high? Yi Zichen was happy to see someone change the topic. The difficulty is based on the number of people. The more people there are, the higher the difficulty. Actually, this is my fault. I was tricked by the head of the Ancestral Dragon Clan. What happened? Hua Jinro asked. Right now, she and Yi Zichen seem to be working together in order to divert everyone's attention to the trial. That way, the problem of Yi Zichen's marriage would gradually be forgotten. It's like this. Yi Zichen didn't hesitate and told him the difficulty setting when Li had just told him. Even so, our difficulty is 256 times. They're hiding people, Yi Zichen said helplessly. Yi Zichen said helplessly. I've been hiding these two treasures of mine, haven't I? The Ancestral Dragon Clan thinks I'm cheating, so they doubled the difficulty for me. In truth, it's fine if there aren't many people, but now that they've doubled the difficulty, it's a bit ridiculous. Xia Kiki also opened her mouth. Then, aren't you blaming me and Susu? It has nothing to do with you. If it was anyone else, Yi Zichen might have a grudge, but for the two of them, even if the Ancestral Dragon Clan increased the difficulty by 10 times, Yi Zichen couldn't possibly get angry at them. They'd already experienced too much. He couldn't possibly blame them. Ahem. Hua Jinro coughed. Yi Zichen hurriedly retracted his hand and subconsciously looked towards Baiyu. Ahem. Yi Zichen also coughed. It's just 512 times, it's no big deal. The higher the difficulty, the more challenging it is. Are you guys afraid of challenges? I'm not afraid. Meng Luo was the first to speak up. I'm not afraid either. The Flame Rat grinned. Isn't that fine? Yi Zichen shrugged. The higher the difficulty, the more points we'll get, and the higher our ranking will be. Actually, this is a chance for us, a chance to leave everyone behind. You're really optimistic. Hua Jinro twitched her mouth. At that moment, a voice sounded out in everyone's minds. Countdown to trial. 10, 9, 8, 1. The trial mission has been issued. All trial participants, please get into position. Chapter 27:14. The ancestral dragon's voice transmission ended in the trial takers' minds. Everyone's emotions tensed up in that instant. "Everyone get ready," Yi Zichen shouted into his communicator almost instantly. On the planet, all the warships began to depart, while the spaceships follow behind. Spaceships with combat capabilities escorted them to the left and right, while all the offensive weapons in the spaceships were released. "Prepare the energy cannons. Investigation team, get ready. Supply team, get ready to dock with the supplies." Yi Zichen issued a series of orders. None of the Sacred Region Cosmic Nation's warriors dared to deviate at all as they carried out his orders. Everyone in the cabin held their breaths. As Yi Zichen issued his orders, the atmosphere of war had already begun. Wow, Big Brother Zichen is so cool. No matter how much time had passed, in Xia Keek's eyes, Yi Zichen was still the same as when they'd first met. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at Yi Zichen, who was giving orders with undisguisable love in her eyes. "Great deity, are we going to fight?" When Yi Zichen finished his orders, the flame rat asked with a frown. "Not necessarily." Yi Zichen shook his head. It was clear from his expression that he was waiting for something. The people around him could see the anticipation hidden in his eyes. "What are you waiting for?" Hua Jianro frowned. "Are you waiting for reinforcements? Don't you people from the Milky Way galaxy need at least a year to arrive?" The ancestral dragon clan had already finished their countdown. She couldn't understand what Yi Zichen was waiting for. "It's the signal to fight." Baiyu, who was silent, muttered. When she heard Yi Zichen introduce Xia Kiki and Su Yin, her heart was in turmoil. However, this wasn't the time for romance. They were in the middle of the ancestral dragon clan's trial mission. She had to keep her head clear and calm. "That's right." Yi Zichen smiled and nodded when he saw that Baiyu was able to adjust her emotions so quickly. "Baiyu is right. I'm waiting for the signal." The ancestral dragon clan had indeed started their countdown. However, after the countdown ended, he didn't give the signal to fight. Instead, he told everyone to get into position. Position? Where is it? It was not clearly stated in the voice transmission just now. Also, the ancestral dragon clan had yet to announce the rules and conditions for winning the battle. There was no way the ancestral dragon clan would allow Yi Zichen and the others to reclaim all 70 million life stars in just a year and a half. Impossible. Yi Zichen could use his life as a wager. If that was really the case, then given that Wenli could negotiate with him, the ancestral dragon clan knew very well that Yi Zichen could directly contact Wenli. That way, Wenli could go find them. They were not in the right. There had to be a way to weigh the pros and cons in this trial. The ancestral dragon race would say it. Signal. Meng Luo blinked her eyes in confusion. Baiyu followed and said, "The time just now was just preparation time. It could be the time the ancestral dragon clan gave us to organize our members and not the actual battle. If he really wants to start a war, he needs to hand over the rules to us. Also, they should have told us about the basic difficulty factor and the effect of the 512 times change." Smart. Yi Zichen raised his thumb with a smile. Xia Kiki stood to the side and pouted. Her bright eyes darted back and forth between Yi Zichen and Baiyu. "Susu, do you see that? I'm afraid that woman is going to marry into our family in the future," muttered Xia Kiki. "I've always felt like there was something going on between her and Big Brother Zichen. Now it seems there really is." "Huh? You've seen her?" Su Yin froze. "Hey, how could you forget? Isn't she the veiled woman who was with Big Brother Zichen during the struggle for supremacy?" Xia Kiki sneered. "Although she was wearing a veil, I remember her eyes. Now that I've seen her, I dare swear on my head that it's her." "All right." Su Yin nodded. "Susu, aren't you angry?" Xia Kiki glared at her. "That woman seduced Big Brother Zichen. How should I be angry?" Su Yin smiled helplessly and shook her head. "I've already gotten used to it. There are so many people at home, but she's just one more." "Oh, that's true." Xia Kiki, who was still fuming, calmed down the moment Su Yin said that. "Then never mind. Let's ignore her. Anyway, Big Brother Zichen just said that we're the first wife and second wife." Xia Kiki giggled and shook her head as if she was very satisfied. Su Yin didn't really care about that. If she really did care about that, she wouldn't have accepted Xia Kiki back then. Now that there were so many people at home, she'd already gotten over it. Right now, she cared more about the trial Yizichen and Baiyu mentioned. She watched as Yizichen and Baiyu spoke one after the other, but she had no idea what they were talking about. She was still sad about this outcome. She wanted to become someone who could help Yizichen and not just cause trouble for him. He'd already said that she and Xia Kiki hiding in the cabin doubled the difficulty of the trial. She blamed herself for this matter. No one else noticed Xia Kiki and Su Yan's secret conversation. Perhaps it was because the people there weren't in the mood to pay attention to anything else. All of their minds were focused on the trial. Right now, all we need to do is wait for the ancestral dragon clan's next transmission. Yizichen squinted his eyes. Yizichen squinted his eyes. Only by explaining everything can the trial mission be carried out properly. Then why did you deploy so many people like you're facing a great enemy? Hua Jinro frowned. That's because I'm not completely confident. Yizichen pursed his lips and scratched his chin. Yizichen pursed his lips, then scratched his chin. During my last trial, the ancestral dragon clan didn't give me any hints. I'm not sure if they'll do the same this time. What's more, I'm not sure if my opponents will think the same. If they get hot-headed and attack us directly without any defensive measures, wouldn't that be the same as offering our heads to their butcher knives? The Lord is right, Winnie nodded. Winnie nodded in agreement. Under such circumstances, we should be fully prepared. Actually, what I'm more concerned about is who our opponents are. Yizichen licked his lips. What is it? We can use different strategies against different opponents, Baiyu replied. At the same time, he subconsciously glanced towards Yizichen. When she saw Yizichen's satisfied expression, she smiled knowingly. At that moment, she seemed to suddenly have an epiphany. Or rather, Su Yin and Xia Kiki's appearance had ignited her desire to compete. Regardless of their relationship with Yizichen, she was going to let everyone know that she was someone who could help Yizichen. Women. Chapter 27:15. Women. Sometimes they were just that strange. Out of all the living beings, they were the hardest to figure out. Before seeing Su Yin and Xia Kiki, Baiyu didn't know that Yizichen was already married. That wasn't his fault. He'd known Yizichen for so long, but no one had ever asked him. He had no reason to say it out loud. When she didn't know, everything seemed very hazy. She had her own reservations. She wouldn't say it out loud. She just wanted to see what Yizichen would do. But it was different now. She knew. Really, sometimes a person's change happened in an instant. There were no habits at all. There was only thinking and not thinking. When your determination was greater than your habits. At that moment, all your previous habits would disappear. People live with their own consciousness, with their brains to control themselves, and not with those ridiculous habits. If someone said that they were used to it, then that was just how they were. They needed time to change. You could completely treat it as a joke. It could only be said that they weren't determined enough. You aren't worth him changing. The current Baiyu was like a different person. Her eyes weren't as clear and cold as before. Her expression revealed a smile, and her entire being emitted an unprecedented charm. Lilyu, Hua Jinro, was one of the people most familiar with Baiyu. When she saw the smile on Baiyu's face, she was a bit stunned. What is it? Baiyu's eyes were smiling as he tilted his head at her. Do you want to ask me why I said that? All right. Hua Jinro didn't know what to say. Seeing that there was a downside, she nodded. It's actually very simple. Baiyu glanced at Yizichen. Since our team is led by Lord Yi, then our grudges can be judged based on Lord Ye's grudges. That way, our opponents can be divided into 3 types of people. Yizichen didn't say anything. He merely looked at Baiyu's 3 fingers and maintained his smile as he waited for her to continue. 1. Get on good terms with them. 2. Become their enemy. 3. Neither friend nor foe. Your nonsense makes so much sense. Xia Kiki couldn't help but twitch her mouth. Xia Kiki couldn't help but pout. Did she even need to say that? Everyone had these 3 types of social relationships. Kiki, don't be anxious. I haven't finished yet. Baiyu laughed. Do I know you that well? Xia Kiki stubbornly turned her head away and didn't give Baiyu a good look. In response, Baiyu didn't feel angry at all. He seemed very magnanimous and open-minded. He faintly smiled, accepting Xia Keek's cold words. In the current state of the universe, I'm afraid there are very few who are on good terms with Lord Yi. Almost none. Yi Zichen muttered. Yi Sheng is one of them. He's also from the Virtual Realm Corporation. The two of us are people who got screwed over by Zhuang. The ancestral dragon clan will not let our enemy be him. Or rather, it can't be the Virtual World Corporation. Baiyu said. Why? Meng Luo blinked. Because Leader Wenli won't agree. Baiyu's expression was brimming with confidence. This trial seems to be a training for the younger generation, but in reality, it's also a competition between the 8 titans. Whoever's Majesty or Her Highness earned more would have an advantage. If there are 2 people from the Virtual World Corporation in the trial, then one side of the Virtual World Corporation will definitely lose. Leader Wenli won't just sit by and watch. Am I right, Lord Yi? Please continue. To be honest, Yi Zichen was rather surprised by Baiyu's change. However, Yi Zichen didn't see anything bad about this change. Having a wise man in the team was better than having him do everything himself and come up with ideas himself. Our opponents are definitely not from the Virtual World Corporation, and they aren't of the same faction. That means that the Universe United Banks Group needs to be excluded as well. That means that our opponents are from the other 6 factions. Among them, the Universe Mercenary Alliance and the Universe's #1 arena belong to Tsanyue's faction, so they will definitely hate the Milky Way Lords to the bone. If our enemies are them, then we can only fight to the death in this trial. There will be no room for negotiation, because even if those majesties want to deal with it, the people above them won't be willing. Hearing that, everyone in the cabin nodded silently and felt that Baiyu was right. But if it's the Supremes Association, the Pill Alliance, the Artifact Alliance, as well as the Universe Energy Administration that was once part of the Iron Triangle, then we might be able to mediate. They don't have too much enmity towards us. As long as we can express enough sincerity, we actually have a chance of winning with money, resources, and a series of bargaining chips. What? Hua, Jinro frowned. From the looks of the situation, the defending side had the absolute advantage. They could win, so why would they let Yi Zichen and company win? That doesn't make sense. Because our multiplier is high. Baiyu raised his chin with a prideful gaze. Baiyu raised his chin, his gaze arrogant. Our difficulty is 512 times, so if we succeed, we'll receive 512 times the reward. Wouldn't they be tempted if we gave them all of the resources? Or we can directly promise them extra resources on top of giving them all of the resources. Reverse? Hua Jinro was stunned. Yes. Lil Yu, what nonsense are you saying? We're giving them all of the resources, but we still have to pay them extra. Why is that? Can't we just directly lose? We can't lose. Baiyu shook his head, then smiled towards Yi Zichen, who was sitting in the cabin. Or rather, our team leader, the Lord of the Milky Way, can't lose. This time, he has to win, and he has to win beautifully and cleanly. Yi Zichen's smile brightened when he heard Baiyu's words. On the other hand, Hua Jinro was more and more confused. Why? Because the war this time was started by the Milky Way. Baiyu said firmly. The Milky Way's declaration of war this time is to display its strength to the outside world. If they lose, then the Milky Way's reputation will be completely destroyed, and countless people will be eyeing the cake that is the Milky Way. As the leader of the Milky Way, if Lord Yi loses this trial, then even if the Milky Way wins in the end, then his dignity as the Lord of the Milky Way will be gone. He will not be able to continue as the Lord of the Milky Way's reincarnation. Because the impression that the Lord of the Milky Way leaves in everyone's hearts is that he is invincible and omnipotent. If he can't even win a mere trial, then what right does he have to call himself the Lord of the Milky Way's reincarnation? So, we must win this battle. Chapter 27:16. From start to finish, Baiyu's eyes were filled with a confident smile. This was completely different from her past self. Everyone in the cabin nodded in agreement. After hearing Baiyu's explanation, they all understood. With that, Baiyu chuckled and looked in Yi Zichen's direction. Lord Yi, am I right? Perfect analysis. Yi Zichen also clapped and nodded at Baiyu. That was indeed the case. Bayu's analysis was exactly what Yi Zichen was thinking. It felt as if she'd peeked into Yi Zichen's mind and told him everything he thought. It had to be said that this was how a descendant of a great family should be nurtured. Thank you. Bayu's eyes flickered with a smile, and he looked at the others in the cabin. Now, we have to wait for the ancestral dragon race's follow-up transmission. We also need to figure out who the other party is. Lord Yi. At that moment, Niomang's voice sounded out from the communication device. Yi Zichen quickly grabbed it. What's wrong? Did something happen? Niomang's current position should be within the fleet of battleships, commanding the soldiers from the Sacred Universe country who were piloting the battleships. In addition to this, they also needed to undertake reconnaissance and anti-reconnaissance work. Niomang's sudden voice caused Yi Zichen to subconsciously think that the other side had arrived. Don't you feel it? Niomang seemed to be stunned. What? Outside the planet we are on, some kind of building is growing outwards. What? Only then did Yi Zichen and the others look outside the cabin. Within their line of sight, there were indeed buildings slowly rising from the ground. Let's go take a look. The warship rose into the sky. When Yi Zichen and company arrived, Niomang's fleet of spaceships had already surrounded them. Wow, so big. Meng Luo whispered in the cabin. From where they were, they couldn't really see the scale of the building because their line of sight was blocked. Even so, they could still clearly feel how huge this building was from where they were. A light. The cabin door opened. Yi Zichen and the others flew out of the cabin. The first thing they saw was an enormous creature that seemed to have pierced through the clouds. Lord Yi. Niomang also walked over and stood beside Yi Zichen. When did it appear? Yi Zichen frowned. Just now, less than 5 minutes ago. Niomang stared at the building in front of him. I've already observed it. There's no entrance. The building is in the shape of a tower. The diameter at the bottom was over 100,000 meters. The higher it was, the thinner and sharper the pillar would be. Lord Yi, I suspect that this may be some kind of secret realm. Niomang's eyes flickered. The universe was vast and full of wonders. Mystic realms like this were everywhere in the human race, and the birth of mystic realms was also strange and sudden like this. The birth of the arcane realm. This meant that there was a considerable amount of wealth hidden within. Upon learning of the appearance of the secret realm, people from all over the universe would come to explore it. The ones who could truly benefit from this were usually the ones who discovered the mystic realm first, because they had an absolute advantage in terms of time. A pocket dimension? Yi Zichen did not agree with Niomang. No matter how he looked at it, he didn't think that this was some kind of mystic realm. Bailey, did you find anything? Yi Zichen frowned. The material is special. I can't tell, Bailey said softly. I only know that this cone is 120,000 meters in diameter and 400,000 meters tall. Could it be a pocket dimension? Impossible. Bailey's answer was very decisive. A mystic realm needs an entrance. There is no entrance here at all. Moreover, I think the inside should be solid. It's not a pocket dimension. Niomang was stunned. If it isn't a pocket dimension, then what is it for? To protect Athena. At that moment, Bayu stood up again. The moment she said that, Yi Zichen glanced at her, then tilted his head towards the building that suddenly appeared in front of him. Oh yeah, it's completely possible. The Ancestral Dragon Clan had yet to announce the exact details of the mission. They had guessed that it might be a trial to protect Athena. But aren't we the ones attacking? Meng Luo blinked in confusion. Why would the defenders have something like this? Logically speaking, this pillar should be with them. We should be attacking it. That was the only thing that Yi Zichen cared about. Why did it appear here? They were the ones attacking, while they were the ones defending. Protecting Athena? This pillar should be in their main camp. Could it be? For some reason, Yi Zichen had a bad feeling. The Ancestral Dragon Clan did it on purpose. Bayu and Yi Zichen spoke up at the same time. What do you mean? Hua, Jinro frowned. Our difficulty level is 512 times, yet the Ancestral Dragon Clan intentionally placed this shitty pearl in our main camp. Isn't that lowering the difficulty level of our mission? Hua, you're oversimplifying things. Bayu shook his head and pursed his lips. Bayou shook his head and pursed his lips. This will actually make things even harder. Why? Hua Jianro didn't understand. Let me explain it to you like this. Bayou let out a deep sigh. Let's say you're the defending side, and the attackers need to attack your crystal in order to win. However, your crystal spawned in the attacker's main camp. What would you do then? I would definitely take the crystal back. Hua Jianro replied matter-of-factly. Hua Jianro answered matter-of-factly. Just as she finished her sentence, she opened her mouth wide. You're saying, that's right. Bayou pursed his lips. In order to take back everyone with the crystal, which is this pillar, the defenders will launch a torrent of attacks against us. They won't stop until they get it back. We originally wanted to defend against the first wave of attacks, but now it seems like we'll have to defend against more than one wave. F***CK, Hua Jianro shouted. The ancestral dragon clan is too devious. But this is also an opportunity for us. Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh. Yi Zichen let out a deep breath, then looked at the tall cone in front of him. If we can destroy the crystal before they break through our defenses, then we'll win. Yes. Then what are you blanking out for? Blast it! Hua Jianro shouted and was about to attack, but Yi Zichen quickly stopped her. Are you stupid? These are still our guesses. What if this is our main camp? Trial takers, please pay attention. At that moment, the ancestral dragon clan's voice transmission sounded out. The rules of the trial have been announced. Chapter 2717. Within the sky, a virtual network projection descended. There was no one in the projection. It looked more like a map. Shanghai 3C. As a former magical beast lover, Yi Zichen had fought Shanghai with his classmates many times. The map in front of him was practically identical to the one in Shanghai. He even suspected that the people here had gone to Earth to spy on the games there. Hey, it's a map to guard the Milky Way galaxy. Meng Luo pointed at the projected map. The Milky Way galaxy? Yi Zichen was stunned. This is the map you guys were talking about? Yeah. Meng Luo nodded with a giggle. Then, when he said to protect Athena, why did they think of protecting the Milky Way? These two maps were two completely different things, okay? There were 3 paths on the map. They were split into red and blue. The red side of the map was lit up, while the blue side of the map was completely black. Only one crystal was lit up. From the map alone, Yi Zichen was certain that the blue side was theirs. The blue side should be ours, right? Meng Luo blinked and pointed at the map. It looks so pitiful. It is a bit pitiful. On the other hand, the map on the red side was completely lit up, while the map on the blue side had one nest. At that moment, the ancestral dragon clan transmitted once more. This time, the voice transmission wasn't just directed at the trial takers. Instead, everyone could hear it. Actually, Yi Zichen and company understood the rules of the battle. The red and blue sides represented the 2 trial takers. Both sides could attack each other's crystals. As for the way to win, destroy the crystal. When they heard this, Yi Zichen and company were stunned. What did the ancestral dragon clan's transmission mean? Destroying the crystal means we win? Does that mean we don't lose if we keep the crystal? Hua Jianro grasped the key point. He didn't say we have to destroy them. If they successfully defend, they win. He said we have to attack each other and destroy them. I'm not sure. Bayou shook his head. The ancestral dragon clan's transmission didn't explain this very clearly. As for whether it was as Hua Jianro thought, it was still unknown. If that was the case, then it would be beneficial to them. Both sides have 12 barracks, 24 battleship barracks, and 2 battleship barracks. Every day, 1,000 soldiers, 100 battleships, and 10 battleships will be born from the barracks to attack the enemy barracks. On the projected map, the coordinates of the campsite began to appear. Yi Zichen and the others could see the camp's exact location and the planet's coordinates. Then, arrows appeared on the map, giving them a better understanding of the area. If a planet with a camp is occupied, the camp will become the capital of the occupying party. In a split second, the black area at the top of the projected map that was originally blue was completely covered in red. In other words, the campsite that used to belong to the blue side now belonged to the red side. The soldiers that were sent out would also belong to the red side. Damn, what is this? This is bullying. Hua Jinro frowned and said, "Before the battle even started, our barracks and battleships have all become theirs. There's nothing we can do about it." Bayu muttered. The Sacred Universe country was originally occupied by the invaders. All they had left was this planet that wasn't suitable for humans to live on. It was fortunate that the Sacred Universe country still had a planet. Otherwise, their main camp might be in outer space. That would be truly tragic. There were no defenses in outer space, so the enemy could attack them from all directions. Having a life planet meant that they had a layer of protection. Defeating the production of the campsites will earn you battle points, which can be used to upgrade the crystals of the campsites and main base. Currently, the red camp is level 3, while the blue camp is level 1. The initial level is domain level, followed by star level, galaxy level, universe level, and so on. The direction of the attack of the barracks will be based on the 3 paths marked on the map. Both sides will not restrict the direction or method of attack. There will be a universe secret realm at the 2 edges of the map. You can obtain high-level weapons inside. Starting members will not have any weapons. In this trial, the red camp will have 1 combat uniform, while the blue camp will have none. Trial mission, 1 year and 6 months. According to the difficulty rating of both sides, the red camp's production will increase by 512 times, while the blue camp's production will increase by 4 times. Based on the information given by the Ancestral Dragon clan, the blue camp was at a huge disadvantage no matter how one looked at it. Regardless of whether it was the number of campsites, the strength of the people produced, or the equipment they had, the red camp was completely superior to the blue camp. The situation was very grim. Destroying the crystal wins. Now, time for questions. Both sides can ask questions. The red camp can ask 3 questions, while the blue camp can also ask 3 questions. Questions. They can ask questions. Yi Zichen and the others were stunned. Wow, you can ask questions. Meng Luo bit her lips. "Hello, can you hear me?" "Yes." The Ancestral Dragon clan's voice sounded out. "You have 2 more questions." Meng Luo glared at the people around her. "Is that even a question?" "Say, did what I did just now count as?" Before Meng Luo could finish, Yi Zichen hurriedly covered her mouth. If she asked again, then all 3 of their questions would be wasted. "Hello, can we take back the barracks?" "Yes." "May I ask how many enemy crystals we must destroy in order to win?" "If the enemy did not destroy our barracks, did we win or lose?" "Neither side destroyed it, so it's a draw," said the Ancestral Dragon clan's voice. "You have used up all your questions. The barracks will be reproduced in 3 days. Please do your best to destroy the enemy's crystal. I wish you good luck." This was clearly just a polite greeting. Yi Zichen didn't think too much of it. It was the same answer the Ancestral Dragon clan had given him. The email said that if the attacking side failed to take back the crystal, then it would count as their mission failure. It seemed that the Ancestral Dragon clan had been discussing this recently. They felt that the email's method of trial was too unfriendly to Yi Zichen's side, so they found a compromise. The difficulty rating was still the same, but at least it wasn't a guaranteed loss. 1.5 years. Yi Zichen and the others didn't hope to destroy the enemy. They could at least defend it, right? As long as they were invincible, they could even accept a draw. For some reason, Yi Zichen's eyes revealed a smile. The sky brightened. Chapter 27:18. Before, Yi Zichen really did feel like his vision was pitch black. Within a short 1.5 years, he needed to reclaim all of the Sacred Universe country's territory to be considered victorious. If he didn't succeed within the stipulated time, it would be considered as failure. The possibility was too slim. Even if he didn't need to take everything back, he could still look at the strategy crystal. According to the initial request given by the Ancestral Dragon clan, they had to destroy the enemy's crystal. If they failed to destroy it, it would be considered as their failure. It was all right now. If they wanted to win, they had to get their hands on Yi Zichen's crystal. It was not destroyed. They didn't really win. At most, it was a draw. That was more reasonable. Yi Zichen couldn't help but grin foolishly. If the Ancestral Dragon clan insisted on carrying out the trial according to the original method, then it really would be biased. You can still laugh? Hua Jinro couldn't help but twitch her mouth when she saw Yi Zichen laugh like an idiot. Why aren't you smiling, Miss Hua Hua? Do you think it's daybreak? Yi Zichen raised his hands exaggeratedly and looked up at the world filled with green gas. This trial is already very friendly to us. You think the sun has risen just because they destroyed us as well? Flowery judo, isn't it? Before this, they had to fight. It was a compulsory requirement. Now that they have the choice, they can also become the defensive side, which is very advantageous for them. But didn't you hear the rules just now? The other party is increasing the base output of the camp by 512 times. Hua Jinro frowned. We only have 4 times. How are we going to compete with them? This is my opinion. Yi Zichen shook her head. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Are you discriminating against us women? Hua Jinro was immediately unwilling. The moment she said that, all the surrounding women looked towards Yi Zichen. Their group had more females than males. Only the Flame Rat, Ailin, and Yi Zichen were male, while the others were all female. If they really took matters into their own hands, it would definitely give Yi Zichen a headache. I didn't mean that. Yi Zichen quickly shook his head. I definitely don't discriminate against women. On the contrary, I respect women a lot. Women hold up half the sky. Hua Jinro snorted. What I want to express is, actually, this time's trial is advantageous to us. Yi Zichen asked. Advantage? The people around him frowned. The 512 times difficulty of the trial had already been reflected, and this came from the output of the camp. Furthermore, their current campsite was also occupied by the other party. If they wanted to calculate the data, the difficulty factor for them was already over 1,000 times. In terms of production, they were at an absolute disadvantage. Then there was the level of both camps. The other camp started at level 3, while their camp started at level 1. Moreover, the soldiers in the other camp had combat uniforms, but they didn't. To put it bluntly, he was going into battle bare-chested. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like they had any advantage. Points. Suddenly, while everyone was silent, Su Yin pursed her lips and muttered. Everyone looked towards her. Sensing their gazes, Su Yan's eyes flashed subconsciously, then glanced over at Yi Zichen. When she saw Yi Zichen's eyes brimming with encouragement, she seemed to gain some confidence as she spoke in a low voice. Our advantage is points. Points? Xia Kiki frowned. Susu, what do you mean? Just now, the person who sent the voice transmission said that destroying the camp's output will give us points. Su Yan let out a long sigh. Su Yan let out a long sigh. Right now, we only have 2 battleship camps left. If we don't have enough production, then they won't be able to destroy them. Naturally, we won't be able to obtain as many points. That's right. Baiyu also chimed in. They can't get enough points from us. The camp's output has a fixed route of attack, so we have no way of controlling them. If it's really like in a game, they'll just keep advancing or die. That way, we can actually get a huge amount of points from them. Yes. Taking advantage of Baiyu's words, Su Yin brought the topic back to her. Points can be used to upgrade the camp and the crystal, as well as to buy equipment and machines. That way, we'll have an advantage in terms of equipment. As long as we hold on to the crystal and maintain the camp's current state, then we'll have an absolute advantage in terms of points, Baiyu added. Once we accumulate enough points, we can take back the camp in one fell swoop. We might even be able to turn defeat into victory. For a moment, the scene seemed to have turned into a contest between Baiyu and Su Yan. The two of them looked at each other. As long as one of them mentioned one point, the other would immediately follow up with another point. Ah, then I understand, Meng Luo smiled. A level 3 camp is equivalent to a star system camp. It's actually very easy to fight and doesn't pose any threat to us. Their output is 512 times that, so it can actually give us points. So it really is like that. The Flame Rat clapped his hands. Actually, there's still a very important point that you guys didn't say. Just as everyone felt like they understood, Yi Zichen smiled and looked at Baiyu and Su Yin as if he wanted them to say the most important point. Both Baiyu and Su Yin frowned. Based on the current situation, that was all they could think of. There's more. Approximately half a minute later. I understand. The two of them practically spoke up at the same time. When they saw each other shout it out, their gazes instantly changed. "Let's ride out for each other to see," Bayou said forcefully. Sure, if they hadn't felt the smell of gunpowder between the two of them before, then in that instant, everyone could feel the tit-for-tat between Bayou and Su Yin. They silently turned around and condensed cosmic energy into an energy crystal. Then, they stopped at the same time. They looked at each other, then tossed the energy crystal into each other's hands. When they saw each other's contents, Su Yin smiled, and so did Bayou. "How was it? Who won?" Meng Luo asked with wide eyes. "We wrote the same thing." Su Yin smiled warmly and gazed at the nearby Bayou. "That's right. The general meaning is the same. Our thoughts are more or less the same." "What did you guys write?" Xia Kiki didn't understand. "Just say it. What's the point of just you two knowing? We don't know either. Let Yi Zi say it." Su Yin smiled and looked towards Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen also muttered softly. Yi Zichen muttered, "The number of people." Chapter 27:19. Why did he mention the ratio of the number of people? From the expressions of Meng Luo and the others, it could be seen that they had yet to truly understand the meaning of this. Yi Zichen smiled at them, then continued. "The number of people doesn't seem right. To be more precise, it should be said that the overall combat power is balanced." The moment he said that, Meng Luo and company were even more confused. They looked at Yi Zichen in shock, while Su Yin and Bayou looked as if they knew what was going on. "Almighty, what do you mean by this?" The flame rat did not understand. "I think. Don't let me think." Just as Yi Zichen was about to explain, Hua Jinro suddenly raised her hand. Seeing that, Yi Zichen smiled, but did not continue, and waited for Hua Jinro to truly understand. He was happy to see such a situation. Only by learning to think independently could one truly grow. Relying on others to explain everything would make one develop psychological dependence. Hua Jinro and the others were going to lead their families in the future. It was time for them to learn to think independently. Besides, Yi Zichen didn't find these problems all that difficult. Meng Luo, Flame Rat, think about why I said those things. Hua Jinro was very depressed. When she was on Planet Een, she was the big sister in their small group. She was the one who solved all the difficult problems. She didn't know when it started, but she had become the brainless one. Bayou, Yi Zichen, and Su Yin, who appeared out of nowhere. She couldn't accept it. Why were they able to come up with this idea, but he couldn't? With furrowed brows, Hua Jinro silently stood where he was and continuously calculated the pros and cons of all this in his mind. Yi Zichen had already given them directions. Proportion of people, the overall balance of power. What she needed to do was to consider these two aspects. In terms of numbers, the camp's output was 103 times that of their own. The Sacred Region Universe country was a defeated army. The remaining people definitely couldn't compare to the opponent. In terms of numbers, they were at an absolute disadvantage. It was the same for the number of people. Just now, Yi Zichen mentioned the balance of overall strength, which seemed to be related to the production of the camp. Just at this moment, Hua Jinro suddenly raised her eyebrows and spoke with her mouth wide, open in understanding. "So that's how it is. Wow, you guys are thinking too fast." Hua Jinro exclaimed. "You can even think of such a thing." "I know." Meng Luo grinned and raised her hand. I think I know." The flame rat raised its hand, feeling a little unconfident. When Yi Zichen saw that the clan head candidates had all thought it through, he nodded towards the flame rat. "Let's take the flame rat, for example. It probably has something to do with the camp's output." The flame rat asked in a testing manner. At the same time, he also looked at Yi Zichen's gaze. Yi Zichen didn't want to give him any hints. What he needed to do now was to train the family head's ability to think. In the future, they would be his most reliable companions. If they didn't have the ability to judge the situation and think independently, then allies like them would actually be very dangerous. He was waiting for the flame rat to speak on its own. "That's what I thought." Seeing that Yi Zichen wasn't going to give it any hints, the flame rat coughed. The Sacred Region Universe countries were defeated. Whether it was military strength or the strength of their warriors, there was a huge gap between them and their enemies. However, the output of the camp is fixed. The ancestral dragon clan's trial has a very fair standard, and that is the fairness of the strength of the members. The camp's output cannot be like ours, where there would be a difference in strength due to the increase in genes or comprehension of the universe. They are built from the same mold. Yi Zichen didn't interrupt the flame rat. Instead, he became a lot more confident and started to speak more confidently. Let's say that the output of the ancestral dragon clan's camp is 1. Then, all of the domain levels will be 1, and there won't be any difference. Just like when we play games, the soldiers of both sides will have the same amount of health, attack, and defense. That is a type of balance. Based on the current situation, Yi Zichen nodded. We can't compare to them in terms of multiplier, but we have points. The output in the early stages will be at the level of champion and general. Anything before the level of general actually won't affect us much. Since we have a huge amount of points, if we snatch the camp in the later stages, we can instantly turn it into a commander, count, marquis, duke. By then, the output of our camp will be able to balance out the overall strength of both sides. Domains, stars, galaxies, universes, these won't affect the battle too much. In any battle in the universe, the true deciding factor is the high-level combat power. For example, what use is 3 billion universe-level soldiers in front of a supreme being? Even if they attack with all their might, they might not be able to break through the supreme being's defense. However, the utmost being can easily kill them all in an instant. Hearing that, Yi Zichen smiled. The flame rat was stunned for a moment when he saw that smile. Great deity, did I say something wrong? Meng Luo Hua Jianro, is that what you think? Asked Yi Zichen. Yeah, is there a problem? Hua Jianro felt a bit guilty. Meng Luo also nodded. I think the same as the flame rat. Do you see that? As long as you wanna, you can. Yi Zichen looked at everyone, then shook his head at the flame rat. Yi Zichen looked at everyone, then shook his head towards the flame rat. You're not wrong. You're very right. Flame rat, you're very correct. That's all I wanted to say. That was the root of the problem. That was also the true beauty of the camp. For humans, it might take a long time to advance from domain to titled. What the camp needed were points. As long as they had enough points, they could summon sovereigns, overlords, and supreme beings in this battle. What's more, the base output was 100 by 4. That meant that they would have 400 high-level combat power. Raising the level of the camp in the later stages would instantly increase the overall strength of the camp. This was impossible for the enemy because they didn't have any points. However, Yi Zichen and the others had plenty of points. The 512 times the normal amount of points allowed them to accumulate a huge amount of points. Their enemies did have quite a lot of people. What about the high-level combat power? How many people would there be above titled? If they raised the camp to king level, then each camp could produce 400 titled kings. If they took over all 24 camps, then they would have 5,600 titled kings. 5,600. That's a devastating number. That was also why Yi Zichen had laughed. Not only could they draw, they even had the possibility of winning. Chapter 2720. The problem was actually quite simple. It was just that sometimes people would be subconsciously overlooked by the more important things in front of them. It was also for this reason that some people could succeed and some could not. This was because the way they saw problems and the way they dealt with them was completely different. Just now, Yi Zichen's situation. The first thing that came to everyone's mind was that they'd been hit by a 512 multiplier and were at an absolute disadvantage. Actually, there were many opportunities hidden in this. Problems needed to be thought about bit by bit and dealt with slowly. Being too impatient would only put oneself in jail. When everyone saw the root of the problem clearly, everyone's eyes flashed with smiles. The sky was bright. It was really bright. Wow, could it be that the ancestral dragon clan is with us? Meng Luo giggled and said, the legendary spy among spies. They seem to be from the Archean moon system, but they are actually from our virtual world corporation. You're thinking too much. Seeing that Meng Luo was about to ramble, Yi Zichen rubbed her head with a smile. From the looks of this trial, the ancestral dragon tribe did not side with anyone. Many of his settings are quite reasonable. That's pertinent. Meng Luo exclaimed. Based on what Yi Zichen and company had just said, she felt like they were definitely going to win. The red side could just surrender. How were they supposed to fight? Later on, our blue side's army pressed down on them. They were all overlords and supremacies. We could fight them however we wanted. They would be lucky if they weren't beaten to a pulp. That's because those were all idealistic thoughts. Baiyu also walked up with a chuckle and patted Meng Luo's head, then stood beside Yi Zichen. If we really want to reach that level, then we need to be able to withstand the pressure in the beginning, and we need to be able to withstand it for a long time. Also, we don't know how many points are needed to level up the camp, and how many points we can get from defeating them. You know how to accumulate points. As soon as Yi Zichen finished his transmission with the ancestral dragon clan, he received a back-end page in the virtual network. There was also a detailed explanation of points. The points obtained at the domain level could be divided into 1 to 9, 10 to 90 for the star level, 100 to 900 for the cosmic system level, and so on. Let's see if we can withstand their first round of attacks. Yi Zichen asked. The lineups of both sides in the trial this time were like the early and late lineups. If the red side wanted to win, if they were smart, they would have to use thunderous methods to defeat the blue side. If this dragged on, it would be more disadvantageous for them. In the late stages of the Sacred Region universe countries could even receive the aid of the Milky Way. Right, where is our battleship camp? Hua Jinro frowned. It just showed that our battleship camp has not been occupied. Isn't it right there? Yi Zichen pointed at 2 aircraft carrier-like buildings in the distance. Yi Zichen had already noticed the existence of those 2 things when the crystal base was created. So it's there. Hua Jinro nodded. Then we have to wait for the battle to start in 3 days, right? Something like that. Yi Zichen agreed with that. Their camp will send out troops 3 days from now. They can use their numbers to crush us. Of course, that doesn't exclude the possibility of them ambushing us. Niu Meng. Here, Niu Meng said. You guys have to keep a close eye on them for the next few days. Make everyone work a bit harder. Notify us immediately if anything happens. Yes, our strategy team will be free to do whatever we want for now. I'm going to check out the situation around our planet and the preparations. The moment Yi Zichen said that, Baiyu nodded with a passionate smile and left. Lil White, Hua Jinro called out. I'm going with her. I'm going to play here for a bit. Meng Luo and the Flame Rat also ran out. I'm going into seclusion. Su Luer practically didn't want to waste any time at all. She tried her best to increase her strength. Winnie, keep an eye on them. I want to go back to the cabin to rest for a bit. Yi Zichen rubbed his temples. Then tilted his head towards Su Yin and Kiki. You two can look around as well. If you're tired, then go back to the cabin. Okay. As they watched Yi Zichen return to the warship, the others also left. Su, Xia Kiki tugged on Su Yan's arm. Did you see that girl? She seems to be provoking us on purpose. She seems to be very proactive in front of Zichen Gidge. She's rushing to say everything like she's so smart. That's why we have to become people who can help Yezi. On the other hand, Su Yan's expression was normal. She didn't show much hostility towards Baiyu. She understood Baiyu's actions and didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Let's go. Let's do what we can and understand more about the current situation. Little White, wait for me, shouted Hua Jinro, who was chasing behind Baiyu. Baiyu glanced behind him and only stopped after confirming that there was no one around. What's wrong, Hua? Why are you asking me? I want to ask you what's wrong. Hua Jinro frowned. Why did you do that just now? I feel like you did it on purpose. I did it on purpose, Baiyu said without hesitation. Hua Jinro licked her lips. Yi Zichen is already married. Why are you still like this? There are so many good men. You can find anyone. I just want to find him. It could be said that this was the first time Baiyu had clearly expressed his feelings. Hua. I feel like I suddenly understood. Baiyu stood in the air with a smile in his eyes. Actually, I have to thank Su Yin and Xia Kiki for appearing. It was them that allowed me to truly confirm my thoughts. What thoughts? I have them in my heart. Baiyu pursed his lips. Before, no matter what, this feeling was very vague. However, when Yi Zichen introduced Su Yin and Xia Kiki, I felt that I have him in my heart. Didn't you tell me before that if I like someone, then I have to fight for it? I did. Hua Jianro coughed. At the time, she didn't know that Yi Zichen was already married. What's more, when she told Bai Yu that she accepted Yi Zichen, she was only half joking. You want to fight with them over him? I don't have that sort of thought. Bai Yu shook his head. Bai Yu shook his head. Su Yin and Xia Kiki are both very good people. I can feel why I'm doing this. What's more, I came later. It's my appearance that affected them. Then, why are you doing this? I want Yi Zichen to see that I'm useful. Bai Yu let out a sigh. I also want Su Yin and the others to see that I can help Yi Zichen. I hope they can accept me. Chapter 27-21. She looked at Bai Yu, who had a sincere expression. All of a sudden, Hua Jianro didn't know what to say. She couldn't understand why Bai Yu would become like this. She had known Yi Zichen for about the same amount of time as Bai Yu. She admitted that Yi Zichen did have his own unique charm. But why? Bai Yu was the treasure of the Bai clan. She was the apple of Lord Fire God's eye. She used to be such a proud person. It was no exaggeration. In this universe, anyone who wanted to win Bai Yu's favor would have to line up more than 3 times around Planet Yin. Even the heirs of large clans, like the Heavenly Lion Overlord, wanted to have a future with Bai Yu. Even so, Bai Yu couldn't be bothered to look at them, even if he smiled at them. That was an extravagant hope. How could such a proud person utter such a lowly sentence? Why? Who knows? Bai Yu smiled. A smile appeared in Bai Yu's eyes. When love comes, it's like this, doesn't it? Isn't that what you said to me? Hua Jianro couldn't help but stiffen when she heard Bai Yu's words. It seemed that she had indeed said that. Back then, she and Bai Yu had swapped roles. Back then, she also had feelings for snooker and rejected countless suitors for no reason. In the end, she didn't end up well. She could only hope that Bai Yu would end up well. Then what are you going to do now? After confirming Bai Yu's thoughts, Hua Jianro didn't want to interfere anymore. They were all adults. They had the ability to judge. If Bai Yu liked it, then she would give her blessings. Let's maintain the status quo. Bai Yu squinted his eyes and smiled. I'll do what I can to ease the relationship between Su Yin and Xia Kiki. They're both very kind people, so I'm sure they'll accept me. Then let's go and check the situation inside the planet and see if there are any hidden people. That's true. That sort of thing needed to be investigated. If the other party had hidden something here, it would be very disadvantageous for them. Lil Bai, what do you think the other trial teams are doing? The ancestral dragon clan should treat every trial fairly. Just now, Yi Zichen said that the results of our trials will affect our rankings. If the difficulty is different, the trial takers will definitely have different ideas. This was inevitable. If the difficulty factor was unfair or the points obtained were unfair, it would definitely create a grudge in the hearts of the trial takers. In the trial Yi Zichen and company were in, it would probably be difficult to find something similar in the universe. There is a possibility that can perfectly avoid this situation. Bai Yu replied, How so? Place your bets. At this moment, in the outer space of the human universe, the ancestral dragon clan is really capable. In an interstellar battleship, Yi Sheng looked at the email sent from the virtual network in amazement. Just now, he had received an email from the ancestral dragon tribe. The content of the email was about their second trial mission. They were not going to fight against anyone, nor were they going to be tested by the ancestral dragon clan. Their trial was a multiple-choice question. Choose the winning side of the battle between the sacred universe countries. In this email, the overall strength of the red side and the blue side were clearly indicated. It also mentioned the difficulty factor of both sides. That's right. The ancestral dragon clan used the battle between the sacred universe countries as a wager for the other trial takers' second trial. They could choose the red side to win, the blue side to win, or even a draw. The multiplier was not fixed. It was based on the difficulty factor of their group. There was no such thing as a high multiplier for the blue side and a low multiplier for the red side. If your difficulty factor was 8 times, then you would receive 8 times the reward if you bet on winning. Of course, if you lost, then you would receive 8 times the reward. Yi Sheng, how do you want to place your bet? I don't like gambling. Yi Sheng scratched his head with a wry smile. My luck has always been bad when it comes to gambling. I prefer to do things down to earth. Then we can give up, said a beautiful woman. She came from the Nine-Tailed Fox clan and was a cousin of Yi Sheng's clan. She had the same surname as Yi Sheng, so her name was Yessa. If we give up, then we'll lose a chance at the trial, said a beautiful woman with a frown. Yi Sheng frowned and looked very conflicted. Our last trial didn't end well. It's all my fault. If only I had listened to Sister Sa. We shouldn't have run away. It's too late to say that now. A tall, muscular man walked out of the cabin. He was a commander-level expert of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan with 6 tails. Yi man, what do you think? Asked Yi Sheng. You are the leader of the trial team. We participated in this trial through you, so naturally, you're the one who makes the decisions. Yes's twin sister, Yi Li, shrugged. That's right. The man wearing an eye patch chimed in. His surname was Yi as well, and his name was Yi Lu. To put it simply, this time, Yi Sheng's group was a family group. They all had the same surname from the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, and they were all related to each other. Give me some advice, muttered Yi Sheng. Yi Sheng muttered. Based on the current situation, the red side has the absolute advantage, muttered Yessa. Seeing Jeezer's expression, Jeezer smiled and said, but I don't think you will choose the red side. Everyone in the cabin knew that Yi Zichen was friends with Yi Sheng. Given Yi Sheng's usual impulsive behavior, he'd most likely choose the blue side. I think the red side has a higher chance of winning, said Yi Li. I agree. All right, since you guys say so, then I'll choose the blue side. Yi Sheng pursed his lips. Everyone in the cabin looked at him for a while, but none of them said anything about his decision. Actually, they all knew what Yi Sheng would choose. Haha, are you really angry? Yi Sheng put his hands on his waist proudly. I'm telling you, it's useless even if you're angry. Yi Zichen is my good brother. How can I not support him? Stop messing around. Yessa patted his head. You only know how to mess around. How many points are you going to bet? All of it. Yi Sheng continued to look up proudly. The base score for the first round is 100. Our 8x difficulty is 800 points, and the completion level is 55, which is 440 points. Bet all of it. Yessa pursed his lips. Think about it carefully. If we lose, not only will we lose all of our points, we'll also lose points. If we lose, then so be it. Gambling is all about luck. Who was the one who said he doesn't like gambling just now? Yi Li twitched her mouth. Yessa could only look at his little brothers messing around helplessly. You've decided? I've decided. I want 5-card stud. Chapter 27-22. It's either heaven or hell. Don't mention the points becoming negative. What's the point? As a qualified gambler, 5-card stud, that's the romance of a gambler. What's the use of less than 500 points? There's no need to hesitate at all. He clicked on the betting option. It started. Please confirm that the winning side you chose is the blue side. If you win, you will receive 3,520 points. If you lose, 3,520 points will be deducted. Are you trying to scare me? Looking at the notification above, Yi Sheng curled his lips. I'm done. Place all my bets. Yi Sheng's eyes were filled with the craziness of a gambler. Betting confirmed. Looking at the points in the betting pool, Yi Sheng twisted his neck and muttered. It's a pity. If only I could borrow some points. The business is still not good enough. As soon as he finished his sentence, Yi Sheng logged out of the virtual network. His eyes were filled with regret. This is too annoying. I obviously hate gambling the most. The Ancestral Dragon Clan is too harmful. I want to report them. Hurry up and go. Yi Lu rolled his eyes. The Ancestral Dragon Clan didn't force you. Didn't they say that we can choose not to place our bets? We'll lose if we don't place our bets. Yi Sheng said, our completion rate in the first trial isn't high. Our points are already much lesser. If we don't participate in the second round, who knows what level the Ancestral Dragon Clan will give us when we arrive. So what's there to say? Yi Lu shrugged. Aren't you going to let me complain a little? Yi Sheng hugged the back of his head and collapsed on the sofa in the cabin. Brother Yi is indeed Brother Yi. His difficulty factor is actually 512 times. How did it come about? If he wins this time, who could be his match in terms of mission points? It's easier said than done to win with a difficulty factor of 512 times. Yi Man shrugged. Difficulty factor of 512 times. It was rumored that the previous master of the galaxy only had a difficulty factor of 256 times. I think brother Yi can win. Yi Sheng shrugged. I believe in him. Everyone in the cabin looked at him as if they were used to it. Yili could not help but whisper. This is why I don't like gambling. I really don't like it. Yi Sheng grinned and immediately took out a glass object that looked like a die from his spatial device. Don't worry about that. Come on, this trial has nothing to do with us anyway. Do you want to have a round or two? Come on, let's bet something this time. Unexpectedly, the moment Yi Sheng took out the die, everyone in the cabin gathered around him. How about half a year's worth of resources? Yi Sheng raised his eyebrows. Half a year? How is half a year enough? Yeli stepped on the chair. Starting from 10 years. Do you want to play? Look at you guys. You're just a bunch of gamblers. Yi Sheng's eyes were filled with disdain. He held the dice and looked at them for a while. Then he grinned and said, Let's go. No one will be able to escape unless they are thrown around for a few hundred years. It's our loss if we run away, okay? The expressions of Jeezer, 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 and Jeezer all changed. They were all the eyes of gamblers. Look at you guys. I shouldn't have brought you guys out. A bunch of gamblers. I obviously don't like to gamble, but I still have to coax you guys. Yi Sheng looked at the two guards in the cabin with disdain. Do you want to join? It's 10 years' worth of resources. It's not worth anything. This. Do you want to join or not? If you win, our resources will be yours. Be reasonable. Don't tell me you lack resources for 10 or 100 years. Yi Sheng squinted his eyes. If you lose, you'll just lose a little. If you win, you'll get a huge amount of resources. You should know how much resources we have every year. Under the temptation of resources, the two guards in the cabin were tempted by Yi Sheng's offer. Come on, actions speak louder than words. Humans should always be full of expectations for the future. You guys should have goals. Yi Sheng continued to tempt them. If our resources are given to your juniors, they'll be the rising stars of our Yi clan in the future. How about this? If you think the resources of your marquis are rare, we'll give you 1 year, and we'll give you 10 years. Do you want to join or not? Just say the word. It couldn't be denied that Yi Sheng and the others were the juniors the clan had nurtured with the most care. They controlled more than 50% of the resources of the younger generation of the clan. The other juniors had to split the remaining 50%. With such a large number of people, the resources each person could enjoy were few and far between. The juniors of these two guards were among them. Commander-level resources weren't of much use to them, but if they were given to their juniors might really be able to soar to the heavens. 1 year's worth of resources for 10 years. For marquee-level experts like them, 1 year was a very short period of time. This bit of resources wasn't dispensable to them, but it wouldn't have much of an impact either. On the contrary, they might be able to exchange resources that didn't have much of an impact for their juniors. They looked at Yi Sheng and the others. The direct descendants of these clans who were participating in the trial were all looking at them with bright eyes. Come on. The guards also hardened their hearts. Play. That's right. Yi Sheng's eyes revealed a smile as he placed the dice on the table. Open. The entire cabin of gamblers had already begun their little game after the second round of the trial. During this time, the other participants were also thinking about how they should place their bets in this trial. If they failed, they'd lose their points. The immense pressure of heaven and hell made it difficult for them to make a decision as decisively as Yi Sheng. 512 times the difficulty was indeed no small matter. But in the end, this was still a lord of the Milky Way. They might know that Yi Zichen wasn't the reincarnation of a Milky Way lord, but they also knew that he had a close relationship with the Milky Way lord. Otherwise, the Milky Way lord wouldn't have given him the 5 elemental spirits. Most of them wanted to wait and see. They wanted to see if anything unforeseen would happen along the way, and then place their bets. Unfortunately, the Ancestral Dragon clan wouldn't give them that chance. Trial takers, please place your bets within 30 minutes. The countdown begins. A voice transmission reminding them to place their bets rang out in everyone's minds. It was like a death signal, urging them to place their bets. No matter what, they had to make a decision. Some chose to play it safe and chose to give up on this round's trial. In truth, This wasn't an unwise choice. Since they couldn't make up their minds, not making a choice was the safest choice. Others chose to place their bets. After analyzing the situation, they chose a draw. Big Brother Lion Hong. How should we place our bets? Someone in Lion Hong's cabin asked. F***CK. Why weren't we chosen? Lion Hong clenched his fists. They'd submitted their locations, but the ancestral dragon clan hadn't chosen them. Instead, because they'd lied about their coordinates, they'd been deducted 50 points. Whatever. I'll bet on the red side. How much? 5 card stud. Lion Hong clenched his fists and squinted his eyes. I refuse to believe that the blue side can win with 512 times the difficulty. Chapter 27-23. In the blink of an eye, 3 days were about to pass quietly. Yi Zichen, who had been resting in the cabin, couldn't help but shake his head and smile wryly as he looked at the numbers on the virtual network. You're talking about the ancestral dragon clan? They had also received news of the bets. Now that the bets had been closed, as the person involved, Yi Zichen could clearly see the details of the bets. Most of them chose the red side to win. That was understandable. The red side did have an absolute advantage. Yi Zichen naturally didn't think that all the participants were muggles and couldn't tell that the blue side actually had an advantage. That was impossible. Anyone who could become a lord or highness was definitely a genius of the human race. They were all smart people. What Yi Zichen and company could think of, he believed that the others could as well. Of course, he didn't dare to say that it was all, but it was at least half. If there wasn't even half, then he really had to question the intelligence of these universe geniuses. However, the red side took up 90% of all the points. Based on the average, more than half of the people bet on them. Why was that? This meant that even more people believed that Yi Zichen and company wouldn't reach the late stage. They would be taken down quickly in the early stages. Everyone else bet on the blue side to win. On the other hand, there were very few who actually bet on a draw. In this round of bets, there was nothing wrong with betting on the red side or the blue side. Only a draw. The people who bet here were probably all crazy. A draw meant that neither side would be taken down. In that case, Yi Zichen would have a huge amount of points. That meant that Yi Zichen would definitely win in the end. The red side wouldn't be able to stop him. Thus, there were only 2 outcomes for this round of bets. Either the blue side would be taken down quickly by the red side, or the blue side would turn the tables and destroy the red side's crystal core. There are so few people who think that we'll win. Meng Luo twitched her mouth. That's normal, Yi Zichen shrugged. Let's not care too much about that. Their bets don't affect us at all. Oh yeah, did you find out who the red side's trial taker is? Yes. Baiyu nodded. Yi Zichen had ordered this. He wanted to know who exactly was his opponent. A majesty from a universe mercenary alliance. Baiyu lightly tapped the ship's hold with his finger, and a virtual image appeared in front of him. Karkit, an earl. He was once the universe mercenary alliance's majesty, but because his power had stagnated after reaching the earl level, he didn't pass the majesty's test mission and was demoted to majesty. This means that he's already been in the universe mercenary alliance for a long time. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Since all the tests had been completed, they must have been here for at least several thousand years. Yes, Baiyu nodded. I joined 3,000 years ago. Hey, do you think we can poach such a person? Yi Zichen suddenly grinned. Everyone in the cabin looked at him with a strange look on their faces. Dig? Yeah. Let him become one of us and cooperate with us. Yi Zichen shrugged. Look, his bets are so big. If we did something behind the scenes and take all of his points, wouldn't that be awesome? You really dare to dream. Hua Jinro was speechless. He's someone from Tsang Yu's side. He'll cooperate with you? Even she was already used to Yi Zichen's wild thoughts, so she only retorted briefly and didn't say anything else. People do have dreams, right? Yi Zichen smiled. He might not have been brainwashed. Then you can try. Hua Jinro shrugged. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows and looked towards Baiyu. How is it? Do you have his contact information? Yes. Give it to me. Not long later, Baiyu recommended someone's name card in Yi Zichen's virtual chat. Karkit. That's our opponent this time. Yi Zichen chose to add him without thinking and directly reported his name in the verification message. Sacred region, cosmic nations, main planet. This was where the invaders were stationed, as well as the location of the red team in the Sacred Region's Cosmic Nations trial. Big bro, the sovereigns here are too arrogant. A red-haired young man frowned in the cabin of a warship. In the cabin of a battleship, the red-haired youth frowned. They've only accepted our suggestion, but not adopted it. That's to be expected, said the red-haired man on the sofa. The man looked to be in his early 30s. Of course, there was no way of knowing how long he had lived in the universe. In any case, he had already joined the Universe Mercenary Alliance for several thousand years. I'm just a count. How can I convince so many sovereigns? But their attitude will directly affect the results of our trial. Kakarot frowned. Kakarov, Karkat's younger brother, frowned. What if they act recklessly and we lose? How about you contact the Mercenary Alliance and tell Lord Kakarot to talk to them? Do you think I have any say in the Mercenary Alliance? Kakarot smiled wryly. If this was 3,000 years ago, he might have been an important figure in the Mercenary Alliance. Back then, he was the most talented member of the younger generation alliance, and the Mercenary Alliance had invested a lot of resources into his development. Everyone thought that he would soar to the heavens and, at the very least, become a country lord. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, after he broke through to the Count level, there was no news of him. Even now, he was still stuck at the 9th level of the Count level. The Mercenary Alliance had started to lose patience with him. The management had decided to strip him of his title and reduce the resources allocated to him. The entire Mercenary Alliance, from top to bottom, had changed from the initial flattery to the current cold words and sarcasm. Even the small officials in charge of distributing resources would mock him when he went to collect them. This was his current position in the Mercenary Alliance. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that every step was difficult. Brother, I believe in you. You will definitely become a tyrant in the future. Kakarot clenched his fist. I definitely will. Saying all this now is useless. Who knows what will happen in the future? Kakarot laughed and shrugged. Sitting in the cabin, luckily the Sovereign's decision wasn't wrong. They want to wait for the camp to send out their troops before launching a devastating attack. Actually, I feel that they should have attacked 3 days ago. What can they do if they don't listen? Kakarot pouted. When the rules of the trial had been announced, Kakarot had suggested to attack immediately. At that time, the Sacred Saint Galaxy would very likely think that they would attack 3 days later. Their defense wasn't perfect, and they might be able to take them down in 1 round. Waiting was just to give them a chance to recover their strength. No one listened. How could the high and mighty sovereigns care about the opinion of a mere count like him? Kakarot, someone has added you as a friend in the virtual network. Kakarot, I spoke. Who? Kakarot frowned. Adding him as a friend in the virtual network at this time. The timing was a bit too sensitive. The verification information says it's a galactic lord. Chapter 27-24. Boo! Karkat stood up almost instantly. Galactic lord. Add him as a friend in the virtual network. What did he want to do? Given the current relationship between the Virtual World Corporation and the Tsanyue Galaxy, the Galactic Overlord, as a member of the Virtual World Corporation, should be very clear that they were enemies. What's wrong, brother? Kakarot asked. The Galactic Lord just added me as a friend in the virtual network. Karkat did not hide anything. Why did he want to add me? I remember that the Milky Way Overlord is also participating in the Ancestral Dragon Tribe's trial. Brother, what are you talking about? Blue team, our opponent is him. Kakarlo whispered. What? Karkat's expression was one of shock. It could be seen that he had only just found out and was not aware of his opponent's identity. What's wrong with you? Didn't we already know that our opponent was him when we accepted the mission? Kakarot said. I forgot about it. Karkat smiled sheepishly. For so many years, he had been racking his brains to think of a way to break through. As for everything else, he maintained an indifferent attitude. Perhaps he saw it when he accepted the mission. Even after that, he didn't treat all of this as something very important and forgot about it again. If that's the case, why is he looking for me now? Karkat frowned. Kakat, the Milky Way Lord has applied again. The AI reminded him. Kakat took a deep breath. What is he trying to do? Now they're in a competitive relationship. Wasn't he afraid that the ancestral dragon clan would find out that he had added them as friends on the virtual network at this time? I applied again. Shield. I think he blocked me. Yizichin looked at the notification on the application and couldn't help but scratch his head towards the others. That's only natural. Hua Jianro curled her lips and said, You guys are now competitors. If you add him as a friend, you're obviously trying to stir up trouble. Even if he doesn't know that you want to work with him, he'll suspect that you're purposely trying to annoy him. Why would he add you? How can I, a dignified galactic lord, do such a vile thing? Yizichin puffed out his chest and glared at him. He would never purposely disgust people and mess with their mentality before the battle. This was not the behavior of a gentleman. TSK, I'm sure you will. Hua Jinro acted as if she saw through Yizichin. Since they already blocked you, then don't think about anything. Just think about how we should fight. Add him. Yizichin raised her eyebrows. Huh? Hua Jinro looked at Yizichin in shock. What did you just say? Try adding him. Yizichin bumped Hua Jinro's shoulder with a smile. Show off your charm and add him as a friend. Am I crazy? Hua Jinro glared. Hey, this is beneficial to us. As a member of the team, how can you be so heartless? I don't want to. There's something wrong with my head. Hua Jinro curled her lips speechlessly. 3 minutes later. I've been blocked. Looking at the blocked information in the virtual network, Hua Jinro was furious. She had already expected this outcome. Yizichin had insisted that she do it, but now she'd been blocked. How embarrassing. So determined? Yizichin frowned. Go and add him. I don't believe that this brat can continue to be blocked. Half an hour later, they've all been blocked. Everyone nodded silently, including Xia Kiki and Su Yin. None of them said that they were from the Milky Way Lord's side in their subsequent friend requests. All of them were blocked. It seems like he turned off the friend requests. Meng Luo muttered. This brat, adding Karkit as a friend, was extremely important for Yizichin. His subsequent series of plans could only be carried out after he was added to the team. If he was determined not to add anyone, then Yizichin's plans would fail. Stop messing around, Hua Jinro sighed. It's useless no matter who you find now. Even if you find Leader Wen Li, he won't add you if he's supposed to. You guys are opponents. How could he possibly add you? So what if we're opponents? As long as there are benefits, then we can be friends. Yizichin pursed his lips and suddenly laughed. Yizichin pursed his lips, then suddenly laughed. But what you said just now was pretty true. What did I say? Hua Jianro didn't understand. I can find Big Sister Wen Li. Why would you find Leader Wen Li? Would she lower herself to add a count just for you? Of course not. Yizichin grinned. But she can. A projection appeared in the cabin. A projection appeared in the cabin. Yizichin sat on the sofa with a smile, while Hua Jinro, who had a speechless expression, and the other members of the trial team stood behind him. Hello, Karkit. I'm the Milky Way Lord, your opponent this time. Milky Way Lord, how did you appear on my friend list? Karkit frowned in the projection. Look at what you're saying. Why do you think I'm here? Yizichin snickered. Do you think it's fine to block me and close the friend request? Don't forget who owns the Virtual World Corporation. Get Wen Li to explain. Is that even necessary? She only needs to tell the technical department. Don't forget, she's the head of the Virtual World Corporation. The virtual network is hers. So what if I don't add Karkit? So what if I block him? All the technical department has to do is type a few codes and Karkit, and I will definitely be added. Karkit frowned. He also knew how Yizichin added him. He really couldn't stop it. The virtual network belonged to the Virtual World Corporation, which was allied with the Milky Way. Even if he deleted Yizichin, it would be useless. There was no need to think about turning off the projection. A few codes from the technical department of the Virtual World Corporation was enough to prevent the network from being turned off. What exactly do you want? I just want to ask you, are you afraid? Yizichin smiled. The Milky Way will bring a sure-win army to attack you guys soon. You guys are definitely going to lose. It's not too late to surrender. Karkit frowned. That's all you wanted to say? Of course not. Yizichin shook his head in disdain. Karkit, you're just a mediocre person who was demoted from His Majesty to His Highness. I'm the final disciple of the Milky Way Master, and I control the 5 elemental spirits. The head of Winley is my big sister, and the Blue Emperor is my big brother. What right do you have to fight me? You should just surrender while it's still early. That way, you'll be more dignified, won't you? Otherwise, wouldn't it be shameful if I really did send my army to crush you? Chapter 27-25. Within the cabin, Yi Zichen looked at the projection with an arrogant expression, and his words were filled with disdain. Hua Jianrou, everyone, didn't he say he wouldn't discuss and mess with people's minds? Didn't he just say righteously and passionately that he wasn't that kind of person? What's going on now? Kakarov squinted his eyes, while his little brother Kakarov couldn't help but shout out. Who are you talking about? Huh, where did you get this little beanbon? Yi Zichen tilted his head and glanced at Kakarot. You look like an eggplant that hasn't fully grown yet. Don't point fingers at me in the projection. If you have the guts, then come over here. Do you believe that I won't beat you back to within a meter? You, Kakarov. In the projection, Karkit grabbed Kakarot and immediately said to the virtual network projection, Galaxy Lord, what are you trying to do? I want you to surrender. Yi Zichen yawned lazily, then rubbed his nose with a look of arrogance. You don't have the right to fight me. Let's not talk about anything else. I'm Her Majesty, aren't you? In the ancestral dragon clan's trial, everyone is a trial taker. There is no difference in strength, Kakarov said seriously. If that's all you want to say, then there's no need for us to continue. You're right. We are all trial takers, but what happens after the trial ends? Yi Zichen changed the topic. After we come out, you're Her Majesty, I'm Her Majesty, and I'm the Milky Way Lord. What are you trying to say? I'm telling you to surrender. Yi Zichen pointed at Kakarov. Didn't I say it from the start? Why do you keep making me repeat myself? Reason. Kakarov frowned. Is there a need for a reason? I'm just asking you, do you dare to beat me? Yi Zichen's voice instantly darkened. He cracked his neck. If you beat me, then I'll naturally feel embarrassed. I can't do anything to you in the ancestral dragon clan, but what about after we come out? I have a universe mercenary alliance behind me. Kakarov said. That's right, you have a mercenary alliance behind you. But what about me? Yi Zichen yawned lazily. I have the Milky Way, the Virtual World Corporation, and the Universe Union Bank behind me. I also have the Spirit Rabbit clan of Planet Een, the Hua family, and the Steel family as allies. You want to compete with me? Kakat subconsciously pursed his lips when he heard that. He seemed to have guessed what Yi Zichen was going to say. If I'm unhappy, I'll definitely cause trouble for you. Do you think your mercenary union will protect you? Yi Zichen muttered. Do you dare to do that? Kakat narrowed his eyes and said, If you go to the mercenary alliance to catch me, you will be stepping on the mercenary alliance's face. Aren't you afraid of war? You're saying the mercenary alliance is declaring war? Yi Zichen instantly laughed and laughed wildly. You really think so highly of yourself. The mercenary alliance declared war against the Milky Way and so many allies, all for an Earl like you? Instantly, Karkit in the projection fell silent. To be honest, Yi Zichen's words had shaken him somewhat. For the sake of him, who was stuck at the Earl rank, would the mercenary alliance declare war against so many colossal entities for that? The answer was probably no. On the other hand, Yi Zichen was the Milky Way Lord. He had the support of the entire Milky Way galaxy. What's more, the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe Union Bank were close to his teacher, the Master of the Galaxy. They might really declare war for the Milky Way galaxy. Are you scared? Yi Zichen grinned. I believe that you're a smart person. You should know very well that I have actual power standing behind me. You, at most, you're just a bluff. There's no comparison between the two of us. So you want me to admit defeat? Said Karkit. It's not that I want to, but you have to admit defeat. That's the only way you can live. Yi Zichen yawned. Yi Zichen yawned. It's for your own good. You're ruining the ancestral dragon clan's trial by doing this. Am I? Yi Zichen shrugged in confusion. The rules of the ancestral dragon clan didn't say that I can't threaten you. Since he didn't say anything, that means it's not a restriction. How am I ruining the trial? Karkit didn't know what to say. That's right. The ancestral dragon clan really hadn't set any restrictions, so they couldn't say that Yi Zichen had broken the rules. Even if the ancestral dragon clan found out, Yi Zichen would have something to say. Given the power behind him, the ancestral dragon clan wouldn't pursue the matter any further. "I'm a very reasonable person," said Yi Zichen. When he saw Karkat's expression soften, Yi Zichen's tone softened. "I won't make you admit defeat for nothing. I can also give you some benefits." "What kind of benefits?" Karkat frowned. "You should have seen your bet, right?" murmured Yi Zichen. "Aren't you tempted by the points you mentioned? Let's work together and take the points. When the time comes, we'll split it 30-70. I'll take 70 and you take 30. Even so, you'll have several 100,000 points. You'll be far ahead of everyone else. With these points, you'll be able to obtain many benefits from the ancestral dragon clan. Think about it. Several 100,000 points. Your difficulty rating is only 8. Even if you win this time, so what? 8 times the number of points. Even if the trial starts at 10,000, you'll only get 80,000 points, right? Is there really a need for you to provoke a demon king like me? There's no need. I can put my words here, and I can even swear on my soul. If you win, I'll definitely kill you and your entire clan. That's right, I'm threatening you. I can tell you bluntly that this is a threat. I'll accept all of your slander. You can also go to the virtual network and expose me. That's right. Think about whether your exposure will really be useful. Don't forget who owns the virtual network." Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. He waited for Karkat's reply. When Yi Zichen said that, Kakaro, who stood behind Karkat, started to waver. Actually, Yi Zichen wasn't wrong. Taking the bet and gaining several 100,000 points was much better than doing the trial. What's more, he'd already sworn an oath. It was clear how determined he was. If he won, his entire clan would be gone. As for the Mercenary Association, you don't need to be afraid. I can take you under me. With the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe Union Bank protecting you, if you're worried about your clan, you can contact them right now and tell them to evacuate towards the Milky Way galaxy. I can guarantee their safety and give you enough territory to develop. This is my sincerity towards you. All I need is for you to admit defeat right now. The decision is up to you. Are you coming? Chapter 27-26. The choice is yours. It was just a casual remark. From Yi Zichen's words, he didn't seem to have any intention of giving Karkat a choice at all. Threats. So you have to make the choice you promised. Everyone else in Yi Zichen's cabin gasped in astonishment at his words. He didn't expect that he would contact Karkat just to tell him this. They didn't think there was anything wrong with that. To win, it wasn't a big deal to use some tricks. What's more, Yi Zichen's conditions were already pretty good. Yi Zichen took over the management of Karkat's family and found a way out for Karkat. Brother. Kakaro's was completely moved, his eyes filled with approval as he stood behind. He felt that it was feasible. The only thing they had to be wary of was the Mercenary Alliance. Now, the Milky Way Lord was willing to prepare a path of retreat for them. But under such temptation, Karkat laughed for no reason. She saw his smile in the projection. Yi Zichen, who sat on the sofa, allowed a long sigh. He had failed. Milky Way Overlord, what a brilliant plan. Karkat cracked his neck. What you said is indeed very tempting. You can look at my brother. He has already been fooled by you. Intimidate? I don't understand. Yi Zichen squinted. Do you really not understand? Or are you pretending not to? Karkat replied. The stakes are huge, but if I really did that, wouldn't I anger all the participants? What can I do even if all the points are with me, let alone 3 or 7? They can't kill you. You can't kill me, but it will be hard for me to advance in the ancestral dragon clan. Karkat said solemnly, if you really want to cooperate, sure. I won't attack you for a year and a half. As long as you can resist the attacks of the Venerables on my side, I'm willing to cooperate with you and give you 70% of the points. If that's the case, why would I cooperate with you? Yi Zichen asked. That's right. So, why are we still working together? Karkat's eyes turned cold. Milky Way Lord, I was born a member of the Mercenary Alliance, and I will die a warrior of the Mercenary Alliance. Cooperation, stop dreaming. The projection ended there. Brother, why did you refuse? Kakaro did not understand. Do you really think the Galactic Lord is here to invite me? Karkit shook his head. Little brother, your thinking is too simple. Even though you're already a ninth-tier Earl and you are talented, you still need to think deeper. He's pretending? No, he might really want to cooperate with me. Karkit thought for a moment and said, it's just that this cooperation isn't as tempting as he made it out to be. He hid a lot of foreshadowing and dangers that he didn't reveal. What crisis? Eternal damnation. Yi Zichen, who sat on the sofa, let out a disappointed sigh. Smart guy. Why did his opponent this time have to be a smart person? If he was slightly stupid, he might really have been tricked. When the time came, he might even be able to share some of the trial taker's firepower with him. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed. Failed. Hua Jianro raised her eyebrows. Weren't the conditions you mentioned quite tempting? Seduction depends on who you're talking to. Yi Zichen rubbed his temples, while exhaustion appeared in his eyes. This Karkit is very smart. He must have seen the trap I set for him, so he gave up. A trap? Hua Jianro frowned. Yeah, actually, Yi Zichen's conditions in the invitation were very good, but there was an important point. It was only a verbal promise. There was no way to restrict it. Then, this promise would not have the corresponding credibility. For example, Yi Zichen could promise to bring his family to the Milky Way galaxy. But how would he treat them if he invited them to the Milky Way galaxy? Yi Zichen could use that to threaten Karkit and force him to divulge core information about the Mercenary Alliance. What's more, the Mercenary Alliance would know about the changes in Karkit's family. Even if Yi Zichen really did prepare a backup plan for him, the Mercenary Alliance would do anything to kill him. Then, Yi Zichen's problem would be reversed. Was Yi Zichen willing to become enemies with the Azure Moon Galaxy for Karkit? The answer was clearly no. Also, if Karkit surrendered, everyone would know that he and Yi Zichen were working together. Yi Zichen didn't care. He already had plenty of enemies in the universe, so it wasn't a big deal for him to hate them. However, Karkit couldn't handle it. If he did that, then all the trial takers of the 8 great factions would cause trouble for him. Instead, he became Yi Zichen's shield. Yi Zichen's partner was vile, but Karkit, who had the absolute advantage, had surrendered. His behavior was even more vile. Yi Zichen could even blame it on Karkit and say that he'd contacted him first. That way, everyone's gaze would land on him. This cooperation actually had many advantages for Yi Zichen. Unfortunately, Karkit hadn't agreed. Hey, that's why I said you shouldn't have contacted him. Now, it's all for naught, muttered Hua Jianro. Who knows, the Ancestral Dragon Clan might already know that you contacted Karkit first in an attempt to pull some dirty tricks. The Ancestral Dragon Clan's impression of us won't be particularly good. If Karkit announces this to the others, we'll be in even worse straits. That's not a big deal. The Ancestral Dragon Clan wouldn't fuss over such trivial matters. Since they hadn't announced this restriction, it meant they approved of this behavior. As for Karkit's announcement, whether they believed it or not didn't affect Yi Zichen much. Also, it's not like I didn't gain anything from my projection invitation. What? I disgusted him. Yi Zichen grinned. Yi Zichen grinned. I've pointed out the difference between us in many aspects. I've attacked his fragile heart with my words. He's feeling terrible. Hua Jianro, who had a look of anticipation, immediately rolled her eyes. That's it. Do you still feel proud, Milky Way Lord? What is it? Yi Zichen shrugged. Disgusting people with words isn't shameful. Who knows? The Supreme Ones might do it too. What's the big deal? I'm not talking about whether it's shameful or not. It has no practical effect, said Hua Jianro. How could it not? He'll be afraid. Yi Zichen shrugged. Don't forget what I said just now. I swear that if he beats me, I'll definitely kill him and his entire clan. You'll do it. I won't, but he'll be afraid. He'll hold back. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. Because he doesn't understand me. So he has to believe that this is real. Chapter 27:27. Must. Yi Zichen's tone was very certain. Regardless of whether Karkit chose to cooperate or not, Karkit would definitely think that Yi Zichen's threat wasn't as simple as just words. There was no other reason. It was actually very simple. Karkit didn't dare to gamble. Fortunately, The ancestral dragon tribe did not choose a person with a strong background when it came to the red side. If it was someone like Shi Hong, Yi Zichen's threat wouldn't work at all. It would only worsen the conflict between the two sides. Shi Hong wasn't afraid of that at all. The Celestial Lion clan had a very high status amongst humans. Threaten him? Even if an overlord said something like that to Shi Hong, he would scoff and scold him back. Because the Celestial Lion clan had the Celestial Lion overlord. He was one of the strongest overlords beneath the supreme beings. Karkat was different. According to Bayu's investigation, Karkat's clan was a very small one. The strongest person in the clan was their Master of the Stars, a Marquis level expert. Marquis level. Compared to the entire universe, that was pretty good. However, in the current realm, he was so insignificant that no one bothered to look at him. Big bro, then what should we do? Kakaruo stood in the cabin and muttered, I need to think about it. Karkat, who was sitting on the sofa, couldn't help but clutch his head. Yi Zichen's threat still lingered in his mind. If you dare to win, I'll go to the Mercenary Alliance and kill you and your entire clan. He wasn't afraid of death, but he was worried for his clan. He was from the Ka clan. In their galaxy, they were a pretty good clan. The leader of their clan was a Marquis level expert. Right now, the leader was still a Marquis, a level 7 Marquis. Back when Karkat was still young and had yet to join the Mercenary Alliance, he was proud to be a member of the Ka clan. That was because their leader was a powerful expert of the universe. Back then, it was very hard to find a Count-level expert in the surrounding life planets. Out of all the people he knew, he had the strongest background. While countless planets were feeling vexed because of the interstellar war criminals, when those planets were invaded by war criminals, they had no choice but to lose their homeland and wander the universe. The power of a Marquis-level lord. It was deeply imprinted in his heart. He had once fantasized that it would be great if he could become such an expert. However, all of this became a joke the moment he entered the Universe Mercenary Alliance and became the leader of the alliance. He was still proud of his race. That Marquis rank lord was still the senior he respected the most in his heart. But he had a realization. His tribe was actually very small. In the past, he had thought that large clans existed simply because the social class he came into contact with was too low. At that time, he had also heard that some heirs of large families had personal guards of dukes, kings, and even kings. He was disdainful and even scoffed. He felt that it was fake. How could such a thing happen? How could such an expert willingly become the personal guard of Junior? Only later did he realize all of this was real. He had truly seen it for himself. Dukes, kings, and kings were the personal guards of those great families. The amount of resources they possessed made him feel terrified just by hearing about it. What left the deepest impression on him was that he was also a majesty of the Mercenary Alliance. Their relationship back then was not bad. That majesty wanted to choose a suitable weapon, and Karkat recommended him a spear. That weapon was something he dreamed of. Even the leader of his family had praised it countless times. It cost 30 million universe dollars. With their planet's overall strength, it would take them over 1,000 years to obtain that amount of money. And this was under the condition that they didn't eat or drink, and the planet didn't consume any energy. Such a weapon was casually bought by His Majesty. The most laughable thing was, he actually felt that the weapon was trash. After playing with it for 2 days, he threw it to him, saying that it was a toy. A toy. Their leader had been here for thousands of years, yet he couldn't bear to buy it. He treated it as a toy, and he felt that it was trash. At that moment, he suddenly realized how terrifying the people he was interacting with were. Even though his good friend didn't mean to humiliate him, he simply felt that the weapon wasn't good. That was because he had used better ones before. However, in Karkat's heart, it still left a mark. From then on, he began to pay attention to the other majesties of the Mercenary Alliance. It wasn't that there weren't any majesties like Karkat, but they were extremely few. The others were majesties, highnesses, or preparatory highnesses. They all came from prestigious families in the universe. Among these people's families, even the worst had a king-level expert, and there were countless dukes and marquises. He began to become humble, because he knew that if he angered the people here, wanting to destroy his family would be as easy as absorbing the energy of the universe. Fortunately, he was indeed the most outstanding genius at that time. The other majesties also treated him very well and didn't treat him badly because of his poor family background. Because of him, the Mercenary Alliance was also very friendly to his family, providing them with resources. At that time, he was the pride of his family. Unfortunately, this friendliness and pride didn't last long. He was born like a blazing sun and finally fell like a comet. The people who had been so kind and humble to him had become so disdainful after he became a count and stagnated in his advancement. His former friends left him one by one. The Ares tribe's preparatory highness, the woman who expressed her love for him many times. At that time, in order to make Karkat accept her, this woman took off her clothes and stuck to his body countless times. Her family was even more kind to him and even gave her resources. Her king-level father asked him to call him uncle. Just when he was stuck at the 9th Earl level for 1,000 years without any change, that woman coldly left, and when she left, she almost spat at him. And those harsh words, he still remembered them to this day. "How can a beggar like you be with me? In our tribe, Earls don't even have the qualifications to guard the door. Karkat, don't think that I'm heartless. Your race did not provide you with the possibility to interact with me on equal terms. Previously, I saw your talent, and so did my family. We all believed that you could become a monarch, but now, we've waited for you for 1,000 years. My father is already very kind. He gave you 1,000 years. It was you who destroyed the balance between us. In the future, don't come looking for me. You're not worthy." Less than half a month after their separation, he saw this woman flirting in front of another majesty. This was class. He'd relied on his talent and hard work to reach this level, but he couldn't maintain it. Naturally, he saw for himself just how vile people could be when you didn't belong to this class. So much so that he didn't dare doubt whether Yizichin was simply threatening him. He had to treat all of this as Yizichin really would do it. It was precisely this kind of thinking that confused him. He couldn't make a decision. He was truly afraid that his impulsive actions would destroy his entire clan. To tell the truth, he regretted becoming his majesty even more. If he hadn't become his majesty back then, he could have taken things one step at a time, and the people he came into contact with would be relatively ordinary. He'd risen too quickly. He'd gone from a tiny 18th-rate family clan to his majesty, and all he'd come into contact with were first-rate clans. How would he face it? More importantly, it had already been 2,000 years, and he was still trapped here. Big brother? Kakarov could tell just how much pain Karkat was in. "It's fine, don't worry about me." Karkat smiled wryly. Karkat smiled bitterly. He wouldn't tell Kakarov about this. Kakarov was the true hope of their clan. He didn't want his little brother to worry about these things. The clan still needed Kakarov to become strong. "Oh yeah, do you know where Lord Mountbone and Lord Bonefiend and their guards are?" "I don't know. They never tell us where they're going," said Kakarov. "Big brother, I don't think we should have sold them the slots. Look at them. They never do what you want." "Shoo." Kakarov nervously put his finger to his lips. "Don't say things like this again. Selling the slots is for the sake of our clan. Just bear with it." "Oh." Kakarov frowned and nodded. Karkat also let out a long sigh. "I want to go out for a breather. Don't worry about me. I'll come back later. If Lord Mountbone and Lord Bonefiend come back, just contact me through the virtual network. Be careful. The trial has already begun. Don't worry, I'll be careful." Chapter 27-28. The difference in class. Sometimes it was just that cruel. When you didn't have the qualifications to enter that circle, you would inevitably see a cruel world. Yizichin wasn't mocking Karkat. He was actually feeling a bit of pity for Karkat. When faced with an opponent of a lower class, he would inevitably be threatened. Even if he was an eminence, he'd been demoted. If he'd maintained his position, the Mercenary Alliance would have continued to focus on nurturing him. He would have been able to compete with them. But Karkat didn't. The only reason he could remain in his position was because the Mercenary Alliance cared about face and kept him. Put yourself in his shoes. If Yizichin were in his shoes and experienced this situation, he would definitely be troubled as well. Even though he had the Milky Way galaxy and the connections left behind by the Milky Way master were powerful enough. They allowed him to come into contact with people of any level without any worries. That was because he had a powerful background behind him. Background was also a form of strength. There was nothing wrong with what Zhuang said. Even if he didn't like people with connections, there was no doubt that background was strength. If that's the case, that Karkat is rather pitiful. Xia Kiki pursed her lips. Xia Kiki pursed her lips and said softly, "Due to the difference in rank, he has to be cautious in everything he does. He can't even compete fairly in the trial. The world has never been fair." Yi Zichen wasn't moved in the slightest, nor did he blame himself for his actions. Why did he have to blame himself? If he was the one with a lower class, he would face all of this too. What's more, they were competitors, so this was understandable. It was all for the sake of winning. Actually, being overcautious is just one thing. It's very possible that if he loses, his position as eminence will be revoked, said Bai Yu. This is a trial. On the surface, it's the second round, but in reality, it's a contest between the Virtual World Alliance and the Sanyue Galaxy. I agree. Hua Jinro nodded solemnly. This time's trial was very clear from the participants. The Sanyue Galaxy and the Virtual World Alliance. Yi Zichen was the representative of the Virtual World Alliance. The ancestral dragon clan had intentionally made him a participant and left a black hole in the dark universe to forcibly pull him into the trial. The purpose of this was already very clear. Moreover, the Mercenary Alliance was on the red side. Someone must have done this intentionally. This person was extremely likely to be the Star Lord of Azure Moon Galaxy. Only supreme beings had the right to speak to the ancestral dragon clan. Moreover, they were able to accept the suggestion. This showed how much authority the person who suggested it had. San Yu was the most suspicious person. By doing this, he had also brought the conflict between the Virtual World Alliance and the Sanyue Star System Alliance to the surface. Even if he didn't think so, the human race in the universe would definitely think this way. If Yi Zichen lost, everyone in the universe would definitely discuss it. The Milky Way galaxy would lose face, and the Virtual World Corporation would suffer the same fate. And vice versa. Karkat has been neglected by the Mercenary Alliance for 1,000 years. Bai Yu furrowed his brows and muttered. Otherwise, with his status as a count, he'd already be a feudal minister. However, he still hasn't taken up any official position. If it had been other majesties or majesties who had lost this trial, the Mercenary Alliance might have blamed them. However, they still had a future to look forward to. If Karkat loses, the Mercenary Alliance will instantly erupt with all their grievances. Revoking his position as His Highness would be a relatively light punishment. That can't be right. The flame rat froze. There's nothing impossible about it. It's inevitable, said Hua Jinro. It's just as he said, Karkat will definitely hold back. If he loses, he'll definitely lose his position as His Highness. Right now, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Doesn't that mean he can only hope for a draw? Meng Luo arched her brows. That's right. Yi Zichen, who was sitting in his cabin, also chimed in. He can only hope for a draw, but the chances of a draw are too slim. I just don't know how he'll respond. On the Sacred Region's main planet, enormous pressure weighed down on Karkat's heart. That was why he'd gone outside to get some fresh air. He couldn't stay in his cabin any longer. That kind of pressure made it hard for him to breathe. He'd thought of it too. If he lost, he'd definitely lose his position as His Highness, and it was highly likely that his entire clan would be implicated as well. If he won, Yi Zichen would annihilate his entire clan. All he could do was fight to a draw. Everyone knew that, given their current situation, the chances of a draw were extremely slim. This was because they had a huge supply of resources. Yi Zichen and company could obtain a huge amount of points. On the other hand, Yi Zichen and company only had 2 battleship camps, so they could obtain very few points. He didn't dare to defeat Yi Zichen in the beginning, but if the Milky Way's reinforcements arrived later on and took back the camps, then instantly upgraded them to above the titled level, then it would be a fatal blow to them. If they really wanted a draw, there was only one way. That was, those sovereigns might not listen to his idea. However, he was also secretly glad that those sovereigns didn't adopt his original idea. Back then, he'd suggested a quick attack and directly destroy the blue side. If those sovereigns had really accepted it, then the Milky Way lords would have already hated him. Within the huge palace, this was where Tian Hai used to live. Now, it had been taken over by the invaders and became their territory. Four venerable experts stood at the very front. Below them were many monarchs and king-level experts. They were the commanders of the army. Later on, we will launch the final attack on the Milky Way's side and the remnants of the divine region. We can't give them any time to breathe. Otherwise, when the Milky Way's reinforcements arrive, we will be at a disadvantage. Although the Milky Way didn't send a lot of people this time, they are all elites. I know those two sovereigns as well. Both of them are highly ranked amongst the sovereigns of the ninth prison. The four of us might not be their match, the sovereign said without any hesitation. The venerable expert did not hide anything. There was no need to hide such a thing. There was no need to feel embarrassed about it. If they couldn't beat them, then they couldn't beat them. It was better to say it now than to be exposed later. Sovereigns, you can't beat them. You should know that the two sovereigns that came are light controller sovereigns and time controller sovereigns. They are the cream of the crop amongst the sovereigns. The four of us are martial sovereigns, so it will be rather difficult for us to face controllers. The sovereigns smiled wryly. But you don't have to worry. They still need a year or so to get here. That's more than enough time for us to get rid of the remnants. Understood, everyone replied solemnly. Kakat, you're one of the trial participants this time. Do you have any objections? Bring it up. Sir Sovereigns, I do have an immature idea. I hope you can accept it. Kakat walked forward. The sovereigns nodded slowly. Speak. I hope that we can return the camp that belongs to the blue side. Please accept it, sovereigns. Chapter 27-29. The entire Great Hall. The moment Karkat's words landed, it was so silent that even the drop of a pin could be heard clearly. Mottled breathing sounds lingered in the hall. Everyone's gazes were focused on Karkat. The gazes of the sovereigns and country lords made Karkat feel an unprecedented pressure. In that instant, his back was drenched in cold sweat. Your Majesty Karkat, we didn't seem to have heard your suggestion clearly. Could you please repeat it? The sovereign in the middle spoke. Give up the camp. Give a natural advantage they had to the remnants of the sacred universe country. That was too inconceivable. They really suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. The moment he had made up his mind to make this request, Karkat had practically used up all his courage. Now that the sovereign had asked him to repeat it, he really couldn't say it out loud. Your Majesty Karkat, seeing Karkat standing in the great hall, yet not saying a word, the sovereign urged him. Everyone could hear Karkat's heavy breathing as he lowered his head, following which Karkat clenched his fists tightly, raising his head and speaking to the sovereign. I plead with the sovereign to return the camp to the blue side. Karkat, you're crazy. The moment his words landed, there was a cry of shock in the great hall. The person who spoke wasn't a sovereign nor a country lord, but one of the Bone brothers who had come with Karkat to buy the training spots. This person was made of white bones from head to toe. The two eyes of the skull were burning with blue flames, and there was also a flame burning on its chest. Maybe it was because he was too agitated as he danced around. The bones in his body were creaking. You want to return the camp to the blue side? You want to lose? Your Majesty Mount Bone, please don't be too agitated. I have my reasons for saying this. Karkat gritted his teeth. *T reasons. The mountain of bones shouted. The skull's upper and lower jaws made creaking sounds as they collided. The campsite belongs to us. It's our natural advantage. If you return the campsite now, won't you be increasing the enemy's strength? The other country lords and dukes all looked at Karkat. They needed Karkat to give them a reasonable explanation. No. Bearing the heavy pressure, Karkat gritted his teeth and shouted, I think we have to do this. Before Mount Gu could finish his sentence, the supremacy standing in the middle slowly raised his hand. Towards a venerable, Gu Shin still had to show the corresponding respect. Even though the Gu clan was not a small clan in the universe, When he saw the venerable raise his hand, Gushin still swallowed the words he was about to say and stared at the side of Karkat's face. From a moment Karkat had decided to stand in the middle, he had not stopped breaking out in cold sweat. He had already thought of this. After making such a decision, everyone would definitely do the same. However, he had no way out. Whether he won or lost, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Only a draw would give him a chance to live. He had to fight for this opportunity. But in front of these people, he couldn't express his thoughts. This was because they had the upper hand. Judging from the current situation, they had a 90% chance of winning. If he said he wanted a draw, it would be considered as slacking off in this trial. If the Mercenary Alliance knew, they would not forgive him. Those majesties and princes who bet on the red side would not forgive him either. He had to do it discreetly. In the end, he would push the responsibility to the supremacy, saying that all decisions were made by the supremacy. Sir Venerable, Your Excellency Mount Gu, I don't know if you have ever thought of such a problem. Karkat took a deep breath. In our trial, the camp's output will give us points. There's no need for you to repeat it. We all know. Mount Gu snorted. Now that almost all the camps are here, the blue side only has 2 warship camps. This means that our way of obtaining points has been greatly reduced. On the other hand, the red side has a huge amount of points to obtain. So what? No matter how many points they have nowhere to use them. Mount Goose said in disdain. They do. Karkat insisted. Even if they don't have a camp, they can use it on the warship camp. As long as they have enough points, their warship camp will level up. So what if they level up? Yes, in the beginning, it won't have much of an impact. But what if they level up to Duke, King, Monarch, or even Venerable? Karkat's expression was dignified. Then the 2 camps will be the output of 800 Venerable level warships. At that time, will we be able to resist? Mount Gu was stunned by Karkat's words. Karkat continued to speak. On the other hand, all the camps are here with us. We don't have a place to obtain points. Moreover, the blue side's 512 times difficulty factor increases the output of our camps by 512 times. In total, the number of points they obtain is thousands of times more than us. Thousands of times! This means that our camp's level up will be thousands of times slower than theirs. This trial, to put it bluntly, is a contest of camp levels. It's impossible for us to level up all the camps. We will definitely level up 1 camp. At that time, those low-level camps will only be a burden to us. I'm doing this because I hope that both sides can obtain equal points. That way, we will be undefeatable. No one spoke in the hall, as though they were all considering Karkat's question. Among them, there were already a few monarchs and monarchs nodding their heads, feeling that Karkat's words were reasonable. Noticing the change in the gazes of the others, Karkat secretly clenched his fist, striking while the iron is hot. Sir Venerable, seniors, this is what I am thinking. Everything I am doing is so that we can win, so that our current advantage won't be overturned. I hope Sir can accept my suggestion. No need. At this time, the Venerable standing in the middle suddenly laughed and shook his head. Your Majesty Karkat, your considerations are indeed correct, but you have overlooked 1 point. What did I overlook? Karkat didn't understand. What you said is all in the future. If it really turns out to be like that, it will take at least a year. However, the remnants of the Sacred Universe country, they won't be able to hold out for a year. The Venerable laughed and shook his head. This time, our attack will defeat them. What if they manage to defend? Then continue to attack until they can't defend anymore. But what if they manage to defend? Seeing Karkat continuously refuting him, the Venerable, standing in the middle, squinted his eyes and looked at him. Karkat, who was standing in the hall, felt his heart turn cold and immediately heard the Venerable speak. They won't be able to defend. Chapter 2730. The trembling in his heart caused Karkat to tremble uncontrollably. In that instant, he felt the knight's impatience. That impatience was accompanied by a thread of killing intent. The knight was indeed a knight. On account of the Mercenary Alliance, he called Karkat his Majesty, but that didn't mean Karkat had the right to order him around, and even refute his decisions multiple times. If he was really a favored majesty, then so be it. These knights had already investigated Kakat when he arrived. He was a demoted majesty, and was considered a marginal figure amongst the many majesties and majesties of the Mercenary Alliance. Who knew when he would be stripped of his majesty title? Such a person, how could he be qualified to argue with a knight? The Sacred Galaxy Universe country is a crippled army. They have nowhere to retreat to. They found a planet to settle down. The knight followed up. Right now, they're all crippled, with less than 20 million people with battle capabilities, and they don't have any battle resources. What do they use to fight? They don't have battle resources? Kakat's confidence was lacking. Looks like your Majesty Kakat doesn't understand the situation of the Sacred Galaxy. Then it's no wonder you said what you just said. On account of his Majesty Kakat's title, the knight gave him a way out. Right now in the universe, no one dares to do business with the Sacred Galaxy Universe country. They're a defeated army, and their battle resources are pitifully little. Even if he's lucky and gets the support of the Milky Way Galaxy. But the Milky Way Galaxy is too far from the Sacred Galaxy country. To get here would take at least a year. By then, the Sacred Galaxy would be long gone. Whether the Milky Way Galaxy continues to fight or not, we don't care. At least this time's trial, Your Majesty, you can win. We belong to the Tsangyu Alliance. This time's trial, simply put, is a contest between the Virtual World Alliance and the Tsangyu Alliance. It doesn't matter who this universe country belongs to in the future. This time's trial, as long as you win against the Milky Way leader, that's enough. Standing in the middle of the palace, Kakat lowered his head silently. He knew there was nothing he could do. Even if the knight didn't say it, he knew what this trial represented. He was clear. However, he didn't care about the Alliance's face. What he cared about was his race. This time, we will send more than 50% of our elites to attack. The Venerable One whispered, Your Highness Kakat, I don't think they can withstand it. What do you think? Karkat clenched his fists. He wanted to continue retorting, but the current situation told him otherwise. He couldn't go on like this. I think so too. Since that's the case, Prince Kakat's concerns are meaningless. The Honor Master looked deeply at Kakat and said, If your Highness has no other thoughts, please return to your seat. Yes. Karkat lowered his head and silently retreated back to his original position. Kakaro, who was standing beside him, stared at him in confusion. Kakaro was also shocked by Kakaro's words, especially when he challenged the Venerable One. He broke out in cold sweat for Karkat. If no one else has any objections, then it's settled. Tomorrow, at the same time the camp sends out their troops, we will also send out our troops. We will definitely wipe out the Sacred Region Universe country. The meeting was over. Kakat stood at the entrance of the Great Hall in a daze. The Tugu brothers and the guards, as they walked past them, looked coldly at Kakat, muttering in their hearts that he didn't know what was good for him. He even dared to talk back to the Venerable One. What qualifications did he have? Mount Gu felt that it was quite a pity. If the Venerable had been enraged and killed Kakat, then he would have been the leader of their training group. Of course, he wasn't 100% confident. Who knows if Kakat died, and their qualifications to participate in the training would be revoked. In order to purchase these 4 spots, their Gu family had spent a lot of resources and money. Kakat, don't do stupid things. Mount Gu reminded him, It's fine if your death doesn't affect the training, but if you die, our qualifications will be revoked. Don't forget, we bought our spots with money. After taking a deep look at Kakat, Bone Mountain and the rest left. Kakaro, who was standing behind, clenched his fists tightly. On the way here, these two and the guards have been disrespectful to his brother. Relying on the family behind them and the spots that they bought with resources, they spoke coldly to Kakat and did not complete the orders that they gave. Brother, we shouldn't have sold it to them. Isn't it because of our clan? Brother had already guessed that it was the ancestral dragon clans training previously. Because of them, we only managed to complete 60% of the first round. Kakaro, don't say such things. Clan is also strength. Kakat smiled bitterly. Brother, what's wrong? Seeing Kakat's expression, Kakaro said worriedly, Is there something on your mind? You can tell me, right? Also, why did you talk back to the Venerable One just now? That venerable seemed to want to kill you. What's the difference? Kakat looked at the sky above his head, his entire back view exuding a desolate aura. I am starting to miss our planet. Haha. After the training ends, you can just go back and stay for a period of time. Kakaro smiled and said, during this period of time, you have been in the Mercenary Alliance. Indeed, you haven't spent much time at home. Go back and stay. Inexplicably, Kakat felt his nose turning sour. Can we still go back? Kakaro, pray that we lose. Suddenly, Kakat said in a low voice, we must not win this time's training. If we lose, we might still have a future. If we win, we will really have nothing left. Brother, what are you talking about? Are you afraid of the Galactic Lord's threat? Kakaro frowned. That's not a threat. He will really do that. Kakat gritted his teeth and said, he swore with his soul. Do you think it's fake? Moreover, he is right. The Mercenary Alliance will not become enemies with him just for me. Then why didn't you say in the hall just now? I can't say it. Kakat shook his head forcefully. Brother, you know too little about this universe. If I had said it then, they would be even more suspicious of me. Even if I really did it for the sake of the training, they would still suspect my motives. At that time, our situation will be very difficult. Then now we pray. We can only pray. Kakat took a deep breath and said, if we lose, at most we will lose the position of Highness. I am not greedy for this position. I only want our clan to be able to survive. As long as that is the case, that is enough. Chapter 2731. It didn't matter if Karkat wanted to lose or not. Everyone else on his side wanted to win from the bottom of their hearts. He didn't have a high status in the first place, so his thoughts weren't that important. Nobody cared about his thoughts at all. Yizichin understood this very well. Before the enemy attacked, he had already sent as many people as he could to set up various defensive measures around the planet. During this time, he had also done something else. Did you send them all out? Yizichin, who was sitting in the cabin, asked through his communicator. Already sent them all out? Niomang replied. After receiving confirmation, Yizichin put down the communicator on the table in the cabin and stretched his neck. Yizi, what exactly do you want? Hua Jianrou's eyes were filled with confusion. In the past few hours, Yizichin had given several incomprehensible orders. Hua Jianrou felt that she was actually rather smart. Ever since she came into contact with Yizichin, she felt like her intelligence was plummeting. She didn't understand many of the decisions Yizichin made. She was also the future family head successor. If her way of thinking was too different from Yizichin's, it meant that she didn't have the ability to manage the family independently and judge the situation. Then, how was she supposed to lead the family? Of course I'm doing it to win. Yizichin glanced at Hua Jianrou, then tilted his head towards Bailey. Let me have a look at the scan map. Not long later, a huge map appeared on the floor of the cabin. Everyone else in the cabin gathered over. What's this? A map of the star region. Can't you tell? Yizichin glanced at Hua Jianrou. Hua Jianrou, who had been asking questions just a second ago, instantly frowned. What do you mean by that look of disdain and tone of voice? She felt insulted. After living for so many years, she had only ever heard people praise her intelligence. Of course, many of these words were said out of courtesy for the sake of her family. However, she was one of the more far-sighted of her friends. Yizichin was actually disdaining her. If you don't want to be disdained, then don't ask those retarded questions, okay? Starfield scan. Even a domain-level person would be able to tell at a glance. If Hua Jinrou was not retarded, then what was she? Could she really blame Yizichin for disliking her? Hua Jinrou tugged at her sleeves and immediately felt several unfriendly gazes directed at her from the cabin. All right, everyone in the cabin is on your side now. Don't bother about these things. Yizichin waved his hand without looking up and stared at the map on the ground. Bailey, show me the map of the training camp. This is... Hua Jinrou wanted to ask subconsciously, but when she recalled Yizichin's criticism towards her, she twitched her mouth and swallowed her words, then stared at the map for a while. Are you comparing and finding the location of the camp? Yizichin looked at her in confusion, as if he was looking at a retard. What did I say? Did I say something wrong? Flowery Judo. You're right. Then why are you looking at me like that? Because I feel like you're an idiot, Yi Zichen muttered. My performance is already so obvious. If I'm not looking for the location of the camp, then am I supposed to play Lian here? The location of the camp on the trial map did not indicate the specific planet it was on. They wanted to obtain the coordinates of the camp. They needed to search it bit by bit. Actually, this was not very friendly to Yi Zichen and company at all. They didn't have enough people here, and there were a lot of planets in the sacred region, so it would be very difficult for them to search. In order to reduce the consumption of manpower and resources, Yi Zichen could only compare. He narrowed down the search area. Niomeng, universe coordinates 77734, 24635, 145667. Coordinates range of 100,000. Tell them to check. Yi Zichen grabbed the communication device and shouted, "Got it. Great deity, you found the coordinates so quickly." Meng Luo said in surprise. "It's just the rough coordinates. I don't dare to be certain." Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and looked for a while. "I think there shouldn't be any problems." "Then why did you just tell them one coordinate?" "Because I don't dare to be certain." Yi Zichen shrugged. "This is just a test. If I confirm that there really is a camp within this range, then I can confirm the coordinates." Oh. Meng Luo nodded. "So you're saying they were sending people to investigate the camp?" "Yeah." This time, Yi Zichen sent out 200,000 people to investigate the camp. It was no wonder the others were shocked to see such a large number of people. It was just that Yi Zichen's thinking was simple. 200,000 people wouldn't have much of an impact on the current situation. If they could defend against the enemy, they could even defend without them. And vice versa. In that case, he might as well send people to investigate the camp's location. That way, they wouldn't have to worry about the follow-up investigation. What's more, it was safer to send people away before the red side attacked. If they really couldn't take down the camp after a long time, they would keep a close watch on the area. It would be difficult to send people out again. Now that there was no one watching, Yi Zichen sent people to check the surroundings. There were no red side spies. There was no better time than now to send people away. "Great deity, you're so smart." Meng Luo wrinkled her nose and praised. "Of course, my Zichengij brain has always been very good." Xia Kiki raised her head proudly. "Any problem will be easily solved by him." "You're right." Meng Luo nodded, then took out an ice cream-like snack from her spatial storage artifact. "Do you want some? You have ice cream in the universe as well." Xia Kiki was surprised. "Yeah, it's really delicious. Do you guys want some?" Meng Luo had already started to distribute the ice cream, leaving only Hua Jinro beside Yi Zichen. "Yi Zichen, what exactly do you mean?" Her furious shout caused everyone in the cabin to look over. Yi Zichen also looked up at her in confusion. "What about me? Why am I an idiot when I ask you questions? Wasn't what Meng Luo asked you just now an idiot?" Hua Jinro glared. "Meng Luo is cute. I'm willing to explain it to her." Yi Zichen shrugged. "If you're cuter, I can explain it to you as well. Unfortunately, you're not." Hua Jinro flipped her hands around angrily. Seeing that she was about to attack, Baiyu stopped her. "Hua, calm down. He's going to piss me off." Hua Jinro clenched her teeth and shouted. At that moment, Niomeng's solemn voice sounded out from Yi Zichen's communication device. "Lord Yi, they're here." Chapter 2732. Sacred Galaxy Universe Country Space. Tens of thousands of universe ships flying at super light speed. These ships were the invaders from the Sacred Galaxy Country. This time, to directly kill the remnants of the Sacred Galaxy Country and destroy the Blue Crystal, they had sent out their elite troops. However, in terms of numbers, there weren't many. Country leader, ahead is the child star of the Sacred Galaxy Country. "That's fast." A blue-skinned, middle-aged man in the cabin nodded lightly. He was the commander of this attack. Country Lord-level experts, world domination. This time's invasion, their highest leader Lan Sheng had indeed said to use lightning-fast methods to destroy the remnants of the Sacred Universe Country. Considering the actual situation of the Sacred Galaxy Country, Lan Sheng's judgment was that these people were enough. Any more would be a waste of resources. Actually, Everyone was clear that even though the knight said it was a waste of resources, he actually felt that it was his universe dollars that were being wasted. If he could reduce his expenditure, he naturally wouldn't spend too much. The few knights didn't make a move either. They felt that there was no need. Hence, they let the country leader who was closest to being a knight, the world domination country leader, do it. However, the world domination country leader was very willing to do it. When he was on the main planet, he had a knight above him. Now that he was out, there was no knight above him. He could finally experience what it was like to be a leader. Country leader, can we do it? Standing beside the world domination country leader was a Wang Ju, also a trusted aide of the world domination country. What? You think we can't take it down? The world domination country leader laughed. Don't worry, there won't be any problems with the knight's calculations. Even if there are problems, it has nothing to do with us. The decision is up to him. If the higher-ups want to blame someone, it'll be him, not us. What if he bites us in the back, saying that we didn't do it well? You've considered it well, just that you're thinking too much. The world domination country leader shook his head. We'll definitely win, that's without a doubt. Even if we can't take it down this time, they won't be able to withstand the subsequent attacks. Also, I feel that we could do it this time. Tianhai the Knight is still alive. The Wang Ju reminded. At the mention of Tianhai the Knight, the world domination country leader's expression subconsciously froze. The existence of this venerable one was indeed a threat. At that time, he had personally witnessed the scene of Tianhai single-handedly defeating 4 venerables and 6 emperors, and in that battle, he had even had the upper hand. If it wasn't for his woman betraying him and handing over all the information on the defensive line before she left, he wouldn't have been able to escape. She even poisoned him. The Saint Universe country's main planet, they really couldn't occupy it in a short period of time. It's fine. Tianhai is already crippled. The dominating world ruler furrowed his brows and said, the poison in his body definitely hasn't been completely expelled. Moreover, have you forgotten how he left? When his elemental spirits self-destructed, he also self-destructed his divine body. He needs time to recover. With his supremacy's physique, not to mention his divine physique, just his physical body alone would take several years to recover. Even so, the dominating world ruler's expression remained solemn and had yet to return to normal. Venerable Tianhai. This name was indeed frightening. If it wasn't for the Tsunyue Star Master standing behind them, the dominating world ruler definitely wouldn't have come looking for trouble with the Saint Universe country. He was one of the top supremacies in the universe. Even an ordinary overlord might not be a match for him. Ruler, we've arrived. At this time, a voice resounded from within the cabin. The dominating world ruler raised his head and looked out of the cabin. He could already see a small planet not far away. Tell me, who would have thought that the once invincible Tianhai Knight would actually be struggling in such a small planet? The dominating world ruler sighed. Yes. The king-level warrior nodded. The speed of the ship was extremely fast, and in less than half an hour, they were already 3,000 kilometers away from the planet. From where they were, they could already clearly see the situation outside the planet. There were a few broken ships and tens of thousands of soldiers. Have you seen how pitiful the Saint Universe country is right now? We probably brought too many people. The dominating world ruler shook his head. These people probably came because of Tianhai Knight. With that, the dominating world ruler said solemnly, stop advancing. Scan the surroundings to see if there's an ambush. In truth, there was no need to do such a thing. Anyone who knew the situation in the sacred region would know that they didn't have the resources to set up an ambush. As expected, a few minutes later, the crew reported back. No enemy found. Ruler, there's a ship heading our way. He even sent us an invitation to meet you. Who? The dominating world ruler frowned. The Milky Way Lord. How could it be him? The dominating world ruler frowned. He understood the need to negotiate before the battle, but the one doing the negotiating was actually the Milky Way Lord. Was the Milky Way Lord in charge of the people of the sacred region? How could he possibly be a commander now? Open the cabin. No matter how confused the dominating world ruler was. The title of Milky Way Lord alone was enough for him to meet with the Milky Way Lord. The cabin door opened. The ruler of the world domination country slowly walked through space with his king-level trusted aide. Yizichin's spaceship also opened its hatch, and Aelin followed behind him. Milky Way Lord. The ruler of world domination cupped his hands. I am world domination, a ruler. I will be in charge of this raid. World dominating ruler. Yizichin cupped his hands. Are you interested in coming over? What? Come to me. I know you're one of Sanyue's people. I'm telling you, Sanyu will definitely die in the end. If you follow him, you will definitely die without a burial ground. It's better to pledge allegiance to my Milky Way galaxy. I am a chosen one. If you follow me, you will not die. In the future, you will also be able to see the prosperity of the universe. Yizichin smiled. Milky Way Overlord, if Star-Lord Sanyue hears this, it won't be good. The ruler of world domination country said. So what if he hears it? Why should I be afraid of him? Yizichin shrugged nonchalantly. He's an ungrateful scoundrel. I'm the true ruler of the universe. Galaxy Lord, let's get down to business. This is what I wanted to talk about. Yizichin smiled. Follow me. I can give you a planet and let you play around as a Star-Lord. Isn't that good? Galaxy Lord, let's stop here. The ruler of world domination country's expression darkened. The face of the world domination ruler sank. We will meet on the battlefield. AI, what a pity. My universe is about to lose a pillar. Yizichin shook his head and shrugged. Yizichin shook his head with a sigh, then shrugged. Since you're seeking death, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. If you insist on being so stubborn, then fine. Let's fight. Chapter 2733. There was no need for unnecessary words. Start the battle. It was that simple. Returning to the flying ship with his back facing the world domination ruler, the world domination ruler shouted with a frown. Galactic Lord, what's wrong? Are you regretting it? If you regret it now, I will still accept your surrender. Yizichin slowly turned around and revealed a warm smile. Without the master of the galaxy, do you really think you have the right to speak to me like this? The dominating world ruler scolded angrily. A lowly general. He could even kill a small fry with a slight flick of his finger. In front of the universe country leader, he was arrogant and bossy, saying such arrogant words. How laughable was that? At that very moment, the cosmic energy around the world domination king went berserk. Aelin instantly set up an energy barrier in front of Yizichin. After that, he personally stood in front of them, his expression filled with fierceness. Duke, do you really think you can block my king's attack? The world domination ruler bellowed. My attack can instantly destroy your divine body. Try. Aelin, who is a person of few words, rarely spoke to the ruler of the world domination country. At that moment, Yizichin patted him on the shoulder. Aelin instinctively turned around and saw Yizichin shake his head. There's no need. He pressed down on Alan's shoulder and walked in front of him. The world domination ruler is right. With the strength of a ruler, the Duke will not be able to resist him. The Milky Way lords understand too. Dominating world ruler's brows sank. I thought you dared to speak arrogantly to a ruler just because you have a Duke's bodyguard by your side. You have no sense of propriety. How could I not know? Your status as a universe country leader is extremely high. Yizichin's smile didn't diminish, but then his eyes darkened. What a pity. Isn't he just a monarch? You? What do you mean? The king of the tyrannical kingdom flew into a rage. You're just a king. You're not even a titled battle pet warrior. If not for the blessing of the master of the galaxy, do you think you have the right to say such words in front of me? If not, Yizichin shook his head and smiled wryly. Unfortunately, I am a student of the master of the galaxy. What can you do? Such a simple sentence caused the world domination ruler to clench his fists and remain speechless for a long time. If. How could there be so many ifs in this world? Face the reality. Right now, Yizichin was the one chosen by the Milky Way master. He had the Milky Way galaxy behind him, and the people he befriended were all of the highest levels of existence. His acquaintances were all sovereigns, hegemons, and supremes. There was no doubt about it, and it was impossible to change it. It was possible that the world domination monarch had gone through a lot of hardships to reach his current level. So what? Yi Zichen had the backing of a Milky Way lord. Are you envious of me? Yi Zichen smiled. I can tell that you seem rather angry. Unfortunately, does your anger have any effect on me? No. Tyrannical world ruler, don't think too highly of yourself. To be honest, you're nothing in my eyes. Aren't you just a monarch? The people I know are all venerables and above. What is a monarch to you? At most, you're a guard of my friend's family. Do you understand? Yi Zichen shrugged disdainfully. He was belittling a monarch like the world domination monarch into nothing. I'm not saying that I look down on guards. Everyone has their own value, and guards have their own rights. For example, if you become my guard, you'll be the Milky Way Lord's guard. Everyone in the universe will look up to you. How about it? Do you want to give it a try? Are you provoking me? Provoking a monarch? The world domination monarch lowered his voice. That's right. I'm provoking you. Is there a problem? Yi Zichen shrugged. It's just that what you said just now wasn't quite right. I merely provoked a monarch. It's no big deal. It's not even worth mentioning. The king-level expert standing beside the world domination monarch didn't know what to say. A monarch, someone who was only a step away from becoming a venerable, was being belittled to the point of being worthless. This was a peak-level expert that everyone had to respect, no matter where they went. Milky Way Lord, I'm here. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes at the world domination monarch and shrugged with a smile. What? Do you dare to kill me? Yi Zichen shrugged and signaled Aelin to remove the energy barrier. Come, I'm standing right here. I'm also the person you said you can crush with a single finger. Do you dare to touch a single hair of mine? You still don't dare. Then what are you yelling at me for? Are you even worthy? With that, Yi Zichen hooked his finger at Aelin. Simon, let's go back. The ruler of the world domination country watched helplessly as Yi Zichen and company boarded the spaceship, then watched as the spaceship left right in front of his eyes. Monarch? What do we do now? Fight! The world domination monarch clenched his teeth. Also, send someone to kill that bullshit Milky Way Lord. Monarch, if we kill him, then the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe Union Bank. The king-level expert pursed his lips. No matter what, he is the Milky Way Lord's student and the successor of the Milky Way Lord's elemental fairy. That's why you're afraid. All of a sudden, the world domination monarch's monarch aura spread through space. In just a blink of an eye, not long after Shi Yan had released his aura, a life star near them shattered, turning into giant rocks. Monarch, I'm just thinking for your sake. The king-level expert lowered his head, but twitched his mouth in his heart. He's afraid? If you're not afraid, then why didn't you just kill the Milky Way Lord right away? Why did you wait until he left? To put it bluntly, aren't you afraid as well? No need. The world domination monarch squinted his eyes. Kill him. Monarch. I said kill him. The world domination monarch clenched his teeth. The world domination ruler gritted his teeth and said, There's no need to worry so much. None of the people here are my subordinates. Even if I kill the Milky Way Lord, it won't be my fault. What's more, this is war, and war is dangerous. It's just the Milky Way Lord dying, so what's the big deal? Even if the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe Union Bank blame us. Is the Sanyue Galaxy a bunch of pushovers? How dare he insult me? The world domination monarch clenched his fists tightly. It seems like the Milky Way Lord's growth has been too smooth. I'm definitely going to make him pay. I'm going to let him know that his background isn't his protection and that he has to respect his seniors. I'm going to teach him a good lesson this time. I'll never forget it. Notify the entire army. Fight. Chapter 2734. Within the cabin, Yi Zichen, who had just returned to the cabin, immediately retracted the disdain on his face and exclaimed in panic. Hurry, 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 retreat. Bailey controlled the ship, which instantly turned into a streak of light. Phew! Yi Zichen let out a long sigh when he couldn't see the world domination king anymore. He sat on the floor and patted his chest as if he had survived. Seeing that, Bailey, who was sitting on his shoulder, laughed. Weren't you being very cocky just now? Wow, what a joke. He's a country lord. I might really die if I'm not careful. Yi Zichen patted his chest. He felt a lingering fear when he thought back to the scene of the world domination king adjusting the power of the universe. But he couldn't back down. If he had weakened back then he might not have died, but it would definitely have affected the enemy's morale. Then why did you provoke him? Wasn't our original intention to scan the situation of their army? Bailey asked. When people are angry, they will often make the wrong decisions. Yi Zichen smiled. The angrier he is, the more imperfect his thinking will be. That's because the anger in his heart will urge him to make all sorts of decisions. For example, I'm guessing that he's no longer thinking about the strength of the Sacred Region's remnant army. Instead, he's thinking about how to kill me. Kill you? Would he dare? Bailey frowned. Why wouldn't he? Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. He couldn't do anything just now because he was afraid of my background. If he killed me, Big Sister Wen Li Jie wouldn't let him off. Neither would the people behind me. But anyone behind me can easily kill him. Ignoring everyone else, it's not easy for Big Sister Spiritual Phoenix to kill him, right? Sovereign Spiritual Phoenix. She controls destruction and space. It's hard to find a match for her amongst the sovereigns. Even the World Domination King is no match for her. More importantly, she dares to do anything. The rules of the universe don't restrict her at all. There's nothing she can't do if she wants to. If the World Domination King killed Yi Zichen under those circumstances, then it wouldn't be strange for Sovereign Spiritual Phoenix to take revenge for him. The stronger a person is, the more they value their life. They value their hard-earned territory and strength. That's why Yi Zichen can act so arrogantly in front of the World Domination King. This was his analysis of human nature. He will probably arrange for someone to kill me in the chaos of war to vent his anger. Yi Zichen grinned. All of his thoughts are on how to set it up so that it doesn't affect him. This way, when we fight them, our chances of winning will greatly increase. Are you sure? Bailey frowned. Yes, that's right. A confident smile appeared in Yi Zichen's eyes. You can tell the personality of some people with just a few words. He was definitely an impulsive and self-righteous person. He won't tolerate someone like me who relies on my background to insult him. It's still too risky. For a split second, Bailey truly suspected that the World Domination King was going to kill Yi Zichen. It was the same for Aelin. Otherwise, he wouldn't have instantly set up a barrier. He could feel the killing intent of the world domination ruler. As long as the result is good. Yi Zichen smiled. I think I'm pretty good at cooking different dishes for different people. Earth's technology isn't great, but we can play with people's hearts. We have thousands of years of history, and we are comparable to the founding fathers of the universe. Compared to our Earth's internal strife, the universe is way too honest. I can't argue with that. Bailey shrugged. He felt the same way about Yi Zichen's words. The people of the universe did not look at things as strictly as the people of Earth, nor did they think as deeply. Let's not talk about Yi Zichen. When Bailey stayed on Earth, he noticed that a lot of people were like that from the things he saw on the internet. What's more, some people were even more thorough than Yi Zichen. So you purposely got all the energy cannons to... If we want them to die, then we have to make them arrogant, Yi Zichen smiled. They definitely think that the Sacred Region's cosmic countries are full of defeated soldiers, and that their combat preparations are poor. They don't know that the Sacred Region has already replenished their resources from our second universe. The moment they become arrogant, our chances of winning will be higher. Oh yeah, how are the scan results? It's out. With that, a wall of data appeared in front of Yi Zichen. This time, they have 24 million people. Among them, there are 170,000 manned spaceships and 150,000 combat spaceships. That monarch just now is the strongest. There are 4 other monarchs, 30 kings, and 600 dukes. Bailey, did you see that? Yi Zichen shrugged. Are they arrogant or not? A bit. Even Bailey, who knew the overall strength of the Sacred Region's cosmic country, couldn't help but nod when he saw the data. There were too few people. The number of combat spaceships was pitifully low. There were too few high-end combat spaceships. Ignoring everything else, if Bailey was the commander this time, then he would have to send 2 sovereigns. Don't forget, Sovereign Tian Hai of the Sacred Region's cosmic country is still alive. That sovereign is one of the top experts among the sovereigns. What's the use of just one monarch? Just because he's injured? So he doesn't need to care so much? That's a ridiculous thought. Too arrogant. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head. A lion uses its full strength even when fighting a rabbit. Even high school students on Earth know this, but these sovereigns don't. They should be trying to save money. Bailey replied. That's why, the moment the commander is selfish, they have already lost this battle, Yi Zichen muttered. Let's roughly calculate the time. It has already been 15 days since the camp sent out the troops, which means that they will need at least 15 days to get here. Let's try to prolong the battle so that the monarch of the world domination country won't send a distress signal. We just have to accumulate points during this period of time. You mean, fight a protracted battle with them? Yeah. Yi Zichen shrugged. The number of troops they sent out this time is very friendly to us. Why should we betray their kindness? You're the commander, so you decide, Bailey said softly. Anyway, I'm just helping you with the data calculations. The real decision is still up to you. Don't say that. You're one of the people I trust the most. Yi Zichen's eyes revealed a hint of warmth. You're the person I trust the most, no one else. Bailey smiled. Huh. All right, then I'm very touched. Yi Zichen smiled. Yi Zichen smiled. Don't worry, I definitely won't betray your trust. We two will definitely win this battle. Chapter 2735. Yi Zi, Great Deity, Lord Yi. When Yi Zichen's ship arrived at the Child Star, practically everyone went up to greet him. Lord Yi, what are we going to do? Niu Meng frowned. Yi Zichen had told them to remove all their defensive equipment not long ago. Niu Meng found this decision very hard to understand. It was his teacher who had given the order to give Lord Yi full authority over this battle. The decision was naturally up to him. All the Sacred Region Cosmic Nation soldiers could do was carry out Yi Zichen's orders. The previous arrangements were fine. They could see that Lord Yi was indeed preparing for the war. Yet, the formations they had spent so much effort to set up had been removed not long ago. It was a decision they truly couldn't understand. If the enemy attacked, how were they supposed to deal with it? Quite a few people were already discussing Yi Zichen's decision in private. Niu Meng saw this, but there was nothing he could do. Now that Yi Zichen had returned, he needed an answer to stabilize the morale of the troops. You've retreated, right? Yes, Niu Meng nodded. According to your request, only a few hundred spaceships and 10-odd combat spaceships were left outside. The other energy cannons and warships have all been retreated. What's the direction of the wind? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. What direction? What people are talking about in private. Niu Meng hesitated, then frowned. They're very against your decision, and are discussing it in private. It seems like they still don't like me. Yi Zichen laughed. Lord Yi, it's not that they don't like you. It's that your decision. What's wrong? Yi Zichen tilted his head and smiled. I'm the decision maker, and they're the executors. If they truly believe me, then if I tell them to die right now, they should be able to do so without so much as a frown. The duty of a soldier was to obey. This was the thousands of years of history of the Chinese military. It was also because of this obedience and trust that China was invincible. During a war, the greatest taboo was to obey on the surface but oppose on the inside. In his heart, he was calculating his own little scheme, making a small abacus. He just wanted them to retreat. They were already discussing it before he even ordered them to die. What would happen in the future? Lord Yi, in the end, it's because I'm too young and inexperienced. Yi Zichen laughed and shook his head. I understand. I'm just a general. I have to make so many of their commanders, titled experts, and even a king-ranked expert like you listen to my orders. You must feel uncomfortable. You too, Niu Meng. Lord Yi, I will absolutely obey your deployment, Niu Meng said solemnly. During that time, Yi Zichen paid attention to Niu Meng's expression. From his small movements, she could judge the truth in his words. If Yi Zichen was the commander-in-chief, then Niu Meng was the commander-in-chief. Under the heavenly sea, he was the strongest among them. Between them was indeed a universe country leader. It was a pity that the sacred Saint Universe country no longer had a living universe country leader. All of Yi Zichen's orders were directly given to Niu Meng. If he didn't trust him, It would directly affect the outcome of the battle in the future. Yi Zichen remained silent for a long time, while Niu Meng buried his head deeper and deeper. I believe you, Yi Zichen nodded. After 10-odd minutes, Niu Meng's forehead was covered in sweat. Yi Zichen finally lifted his arm. I believe you. Lord of the Milky Way, please don't worry. Niu Meng, will definitely obey your arrangements. Very good. Yi Zichen nodded in satisfaction, then shrugged. Didn't you guys ask me about the situation just now? I can tell you clearly that my negotiation with the other country's monarch was not perfect. I insulted him, so he's so angry that he wants to kill me. Lord, Winnie couldn't help but be stunned. You insulted the monarch? He wants to kill you? Yes. Yi Zichen nodded with a smile. Aelin knows that I was thoroughly insulted by that monarch just now. At that time, he was so angry that he almost killed me. Everyone turned to look at Aelin, and she nodded stiffly. Yi Zichen, you're so bold, Hua Jianro said in shock. That's the enemy's monarch. Aren't you afraid that he'll kill you? What's more, didn't you say that you went out this time to negotiate? Actually, I went out this time to scan their forces. Yi Zichen smiled. Sorry for lying to you guys, but you don't have to worry about me. Although that old man is so angry that he wants to kill me, our opportunity has arrived. Opportunity? Opportunity to win. Yi Zichen stretched lazily. Niu Meng, you can start preparing all the energy cannons now. Where? The surface is fine. Yi Zichen smiled. No need to send them out. If you feel like it's not safe, you can deploy 500 to the surface of the atmosphere. Understood. Also, I need 100,000 death soldiers. As soon as Yi Zichen finished speaking, everyone's gazes froze. Lord, you said death soldiers? Yes. Yi Zichen's tone also turned solemn. People will definitely die in this war. You should know this better than me. I need 100,000 people who are willing to die. I can promise you that after these 100,000 people, our casualties will not exceed 50,000. Niu Meng was stunned. In this battle, the remaining strength of the sacred universe countries were already prepared to be wiped out. 100,000 people. That's enough to guarantee everyone's survival. Their casualties will not exceed 50,000. That's unbelievable. Lord Yi, don't you trust me? Yi Zichen smiled. If you truly trust me, then don't ask me, just do it. As long as you select 100,000 people who are truly willing to die, they will die whenever and however I want them to, and I can guarantee that the others will survive. Lord, the enemy has arrived. At that moment, a voice sounded out from Yi Zichen's communicator. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. He wasn't surprised. Their speeds weren't that different, and it was normal for them to reach the outer reaches of the planet. Hurry up and arrange it. Do as I say. Yi Zichen frowned. Understood. Niu Meng didn't hesitate in the slightest. He hurriedly left. The others remained where they were. Yi Zichen slowly looked up. His eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the stars and see the army marching towards them. Let's fight. I've waited for this for a long time.